G'day, you mob. What on earth is going on? Clearly, I forgot to... Clearly, I forgot to take off my silly green screen fiddling around that I was doing before. But, you know, that's a little bit interesting to start off. Why not start with something stupid? Everyone just missed Sarah, unfortunately. She just had to split. I just heard the car start then. Had to do, you know, a little bit of a hug and a kiss goodbye and stuff. So, unfortunately, when daylight savings messes this time around and I start so late, we don't get much opportunity for Sarah to turn up on the television. G'day, Terry's top prop. I'll edit that out later. G'day, Terry's Tropical Tanks. First, cab off the rank, big bucket of kudos in the post to you, Terry. I do believe that is not your first. So well done to you. Joel G, how are you, mate? GRB, how's it going? Sombra, my brother, how are you? How are you, good lad? Hope you're doing well, my brother. And welcome. Happy Wednesday. MT and Aqua, g'day, mate. Yeah, it's the, hang on, where was I? Bloody jumping chat. I said g'day to GRB. Have another one, mate. You deserve it. Tropico, Fish Tropic, how's it going? Deborah Sanders, how are you, love? Welcome. Well, she didn't even come to the, come here. Oh, but there's food in there. See you, love you. Yeah, this weather, I tell you, Sombra, is ridiculous on my hair. I just can't do a thing with it. But yeah, soon it'll oh, look out, I didn't even notice there was a creature in my backstage area. Yeah, soon it'll give me the irrits and I will probably get it out of my face and stuff. Hopefully I haven't missed anyone. Who have I missed? Natural Aquariums. Hello, Natural. Nola Jane, how do you do? Sheltering. Every day she's sheltering. Or however that song goes. Bugs in my nose, gotta love them. And without further ado, the beast is in the Hazios. I don't have my round of applause queued up today, so no round of applause for you.
Oh, that's all right.
How are you? You're looking very clean and tidy and stuff.
Yeah, it's a work week. I'm in Gleniness right now, up in the Highlands.
Oh, you're in the Glen.
And it's
right.
Nice. The weather
it's
up here
is country
like,
out there, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't wait till autumn hits in Mullumbimby because damn, it's nice.
It has hit. We're 3 days deep into autumn. Oh, did you say autumn or August?
Autumn. Yeah, just the cooler weather without as much humidity. You know, that's well, it's a nice reprieve being up here.
Gleniness is also blessed with the altitude, isn't it? So the altitude certainly has a lot to do with the temperature you experience, and yeah, it's certainly renowned for it. My sister was here at the weekend, and she's taken a teaching job at Stanthorpe. So you know,
Yep.
Only a couple of hours up the road from Glen Innes.
Yep. Lucky person.
A little bit of extra altitude, good apple growing place up there.
Yep. Motel's got they installed a smart TV, so I've got the stream on the TV with mute button on, so I can see the chat today, and got that installed this morning, and they got a mini bar.
Look out! Those bloody mini bars can be dangerous.
Yeah,
very dangerous.
Yeah. Hello. Hey, Joe.
Like a spooky ghost, I just came sliding in from the side.
Hey.
Sliming in. You came sliming in.
What's going on?
Ectoplasm and stuff.
What's happening today?
Oh, you know.
What day of the week is it over there? God,
Wednesday.
Like Friday already?
Wednesday.
What is it, like Friday already?
Oh, I tell you, it's got a dreadful similarity feel to a Friday this Wednesday. It feels like Friday all over.
Yeah. Being very sneaky.
I don't know about three of us close up like this. Let's go back to the old school.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I was kind of liking the close up. It was kind of change of pace.
Change of pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll stick with it. It would probably make it like I feel like I look like that. I feel like my hair looks like that. The dude from that Aphex Twin video. That doesn't make much sense, does it?
Come to Daddy.
Yeah, that one.
Daddy.
The gentleman of a darker skin tone, with a fairly potty mouth at the start of the video. Yeah, I feel like I've got his greasy.
Oh, it's Window Liquor.
Oh, Window Liquor. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Come to Daddy's got all the dogs and stuff, doesn't it?
And the kids smashing shit. Yeah.
I like the one about the milkman's wife.
Ooh, I don't think I know that one.
No, don't know that.
G'day, Drama D.
You'll have to check it out. I don't want to spoil it for you.
What was he called?
About the milkman's wife.
Drunken Milkman's Wife.
No, it's just about the milkman's wife.
Oh, the
Aphex Twin Milkman's Wife. Yeah, and you get it.
Milkman's Wife.
Yes. Might be called I Would Like Some Milk.
Oh, yes, I've heard that. I've never seen the video, though. Yep.
I know a Scatterbrain song called Blood and Milk. Remember Scatterbrain? Does anyone remember Scatterbrain?
Yeah.
Don't call me dude.
Oh, yep. Yep.
Yeah. That's all you have to say, and people remember Scatterbrain instantly. They remember their whole song.
That whole one?
Yeah. I mean, I had their album. It had some other bangers on it, but, they were essentially a one-hit wonder gimmick kind of band with a really ugly singer. Like that dude had a face that looked like someone set it on fire and tried to put it out with a bike chain. He wasn't a pretty man.
It could have happened. That's what could have happened. That's what could have actually happened.
I find it a feasible excuse for someone's ugliness. After all, it's exactly what happened to me. Sometimes you've got to.
What year was that, though? That's really the question. Was it very recent?
90s.
Yeah, last Thursday.
last Thursday. That's the answer for everything. Thursday.
And sometimes you've got to involve a little bit of self-deprecation when you're making offensive comedy.
Yeah,
that's right.
It kind of balances out a little bit.
I mean, you definitely have to be the subject of your own comedy. That's more often than not. Like you could occasionally throw down with some others, right? But you want to be the focus.
Yeah, if you do use others, they've really got to deserve it.
Yeah, that's like Bill Cosby. That guy deserves it.
Yeah. Poor Cos, he just went sideways, didn't he?
Well, I believe he started out sideways and just continued.
Yeah.
I think that's the real story there.
I think it's a common thing for people to, because they lots of us grew up with him as our favorite sitcom dad, and he was just such a wholesome dude and stuff.
The doctor, the fake doctor.
Well, right? Not only doctor, wasn't he a baby mummy doctor?
Well, he was. Yeah, I think he was like I
think
he was a pediatrician in that show. He was a baby doctor, like a doctor for children, which is like even worse. You know, like
but what? It conjures up imagery of him in his little doctor's office, and he's entertaining the toddler in the corner with his silly faces and loud sweaters while he's entertaining the toddler's mum in a stupor in the other corner of the room.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Thanks for swinging by, Chevy. Hope you have a good sleep.
And on top of it, like he was always he was like the gatekeeper of morality for all of the other comedians. Yeah. Right?
Yeah,
I believe there was a point where he like kept scolding Eddie Murphy for swearing on stage and
it wasn't only Eddie Murphy apparently.
What's that?
It wasn't only Eddie Murphy apparently.
It wasn't only, but I'm just saying like as a
Richard Pryor as well.
One of the public examples of the many examples.
Yeah.
Because Eddie has come out and talked about it a few times.
Unfortunately, Richard Pryor certainly didn't have the faculties left to come out and talk about the same thing. But apparently Cosby had a fair dig at what's his name as well, Pryor, for his foul mouth. I mean, Richard Pryor could probably still do awesome comedy without saying fuck every third word, but Eddie Murphy, I mean, with all of his family-friendly movies that he's made, I'm fairly certain that, he's not necessarily that capable of solid comedy without the foul language. Sorry, Eddie, if you're watching. I didn't mean to diss some of your movies. Some of them are great.
Well,
have you guys seen?
Here's the thing: is that like, Eddie Murphy was always Eddie Murphy, and like you knew that he was doing those kids movies not because he was like trying to trick people or whatever. He was legitimately just like, oh, they're gonna pay me lots of money to be in these movies, so yeah, I'm gonna go do that because it's lots of monies, and I like to have money. So
there's a delicate balance between being a sensible businessman and being a riotous comedian.
Well, it's the thing, like, if you're acting, right? When you're acting like a character, right? You're acting like somebody else that you're not. You're playing a character. And I don't think Eddie Murphy ever like was on the high horse of like telling people what they should be doing in their lives or anything like that, which is in my opinion, that's the decided difference between the insane hypocrisy of like on an insane level of Cosby versus a bunch of the characters that Eddie Murphy played in the movies that he got paid millions of dollars to act in, I'm like, to me, I'm like, Eddie Murphy was just in a bunch of movies that I didn't think was very funny, but
they worked.
But but that's the thing is like,
Endgame achieved.
I don't watch like, I don't watch like the Smurfs and think like, wow, this is crap because I already know all the jokes are coming, because it's for kids, I mean, to act like any of those movies that Eddie Murphy was making like wasn't for kids, like I mean, they were decidedly for the developing brain,
all of those fart jokes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not, but if you watch his stand-up, it's like, wow, man, he's like a really deep, I mean, he's a wild dude or whatever, but like he's pretty deep in what he's analyzing and thinking about,
Coming to America is on Friday.
Yeah. And I think they're making Coming to America too, I believe.
That's right. That's getting released on Amazon Prime this Friday. So
as in
is that this
remake?
Oh, yeah,
the remake version. And then they're doing remake version of the sequel.
No, they're doing the sequel's getting released on the 5th of March.
I thought there was.
That's this soon.
Yeah,
I thought there was already a coming to America too.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah. I
Maybe
could be thinking of.
Maybe you saw the rumor and just assumed that it must have been a movie that was made.
Yeah, right. Yeah, potentially. It's not it's not unfounded for me to convolute facts and stuff and mix shit up. IHSP, how are you? And Thirsty Rabbit, g'day, brother.
You got to be honest. Like in this day and age, it's super easy to be like, well, "That was a movie, right?" Like, like, no. Wait, what about this other thing? Wait, that was a movie?
Yeah, true. But that caterpillar movie, not caterpillar, centipede movie. They made that into a movie.
Yeah, they made that into a movie.
Oh, cinematic gold.
Yeah, I suppose.
Some dude's sus little fetish, and he turned it into a film.
It just got real dark in here. Just got real dark.
Did you lose a light bulb?
No, we were having a good time, having a laugh, and then you brought up the centipede movie.
The human centipede. I watched the first one, but I didn't watch the other ones.
Yeah, well, that's I guess whenever I hear of the word sequel, and there's so many movies out there that justifiably have a sequel. How the hell do they justify a second human centipede?
I don't know. I don't know that they justified it. I think they just did it.
I bet they got their money back. Betcha.
I don't know.
They made 3 of them.
Oh, really?
I figure if you spend about $15 to make a movie, I don't think it's very difficult to get your money back.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the production values on those movies, I mean, not production values, but pretty small cast.
Yeah.
One location. Can't be too difficult to return that money. You're absolutely right. Bucketman Shrimps Aquatics. That lack of a space there is very confusing to my eyeballs, Bucketman. Fix it. All day. That's good. That's all you. Zeus. I think Zeus is Z-Beast. What are you drinking? Z-Beast?
I just had a Bundy and Coke, but I'm going back to some Panhead American Pale Ale Superchargers, which are quite delicious.
That whatever's in the can might taste like crap, but that's a real sexy looking can.
Yeah, it's a nice design. They make an XPA as well, which is nice, but this is like 5.7%, so 1.6 standards in a slightly smaller can. Very delicious Australian brew. Uncle Dan's had it for 6-pack for $20, so I was like, "Yep, I'll snavel that." And I even drank some warm yesterday, or room temperature, and it was quite enjoyable in the park at Armadale. Nice pine trees and oak trees. It was like being in Europe or probably North America. And
there's lots of deer there as well. How many deer did you run over?
None. No deer in the middle of town. But it was quite relaxing to sit in a park and drink some fine brews.
Certainly one of the areas of Australia with a really heavy, not only farmed but also feral deer population. I remember that my sister went to university at Armadale back in the bloody 80s, the 1980s for those playing at home. And there was, there was
1780s.
No, I don't think there was any deer there then. They were more sensible back in the day than introduce a species like that.
Like deer, yeah.
Yeah. But they're I don't know if they were brought in for the university, but there was certainly some big paddocks at my sister's university where the deer were fenced in and kept. But there was lots that escaped as well, and now the feral deer population has almost reached where we are.
Yep.
Casino and Lismore, reporting lots of feral deer sightings out that way. And it's only an hour or so away.
I can tell you that deer are prolific, my friend.
They seem to really enjoy the rumpty, because if there's grass on the pitch, play ball apparently in deer culture.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
and they taste fucking good too.
Yeah. They are worth eating, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I do prefer kangaroo meat to deer meat, but I think I've only had one type of deer, and there's plenty out there that I'm sure will entertain and amuse my taste buds.
That's normally what it comes down to. Like, it probably wasn't processed properly,
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I'm talking like it's probably been 20 years since I've had venison. So, yeah. I'm sure if I had it again now, it'd be much more advanced than way back in the day, where they were probably just shooting whatever wandered into the backyard because it's feral. Take it out, cook it up.
The butcher near the laundromat sells frozen chunks of it, and it's cheaper than beef. And if you slow cook it, it tastes fucking delicious. It's really good.
Do they cite their source? Is it farmed?
Yeah,
or is
farmed.
It cold?
It's farmed, yeah.
Yeah, Terry, absolutely. I've got the same issue with in Australia. We have a lot of those crossing signs, and none of the animals ever take the initiative to use the signs and cross there. I'm sure they've got equal ability to read a sign as a human, surely. God. Yeah.
Assuredly.
Yeah, Joel G.
Slow cooking.
Hang on. I'm being called across that way for a bit. I'll be back in a sec. Talk amongst yourselves.
Uh-oh. What happened?
I don't know yet.
Just got to go over there to pee again.
I think that direction is his parents. So, yeah. Something's come up.
Something,
yes.
Something elusive.
Yeah. So I've delved into the WandaVision, and it's quite interesting. Good.
It's interesting so far. I think I'm on like episode 5 or maybe 6.
Me too.
I think there's only like 8.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting for sure, and I think it's kind of a innovative way to like try to introduce the different groups together, that kind of you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's the first sort of melding of the X-Men mutant culture with with the greater universe. What I don't understand is, why is it sword and not shield?
That I don't know.
Yeah, right.
That
made me go, huh? Is this like a parallel dimension or some shit? I don't get it.
Well, no, because this is after the snap and everything, because Vision is dead, right?
Yeah.
And then this is the resurrected Vision and whatnot. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm interested to see where it's going to go, realistically. But I don't know. I just think it's really interesting. It's sort of like how they brought back Star Trek, right? Like, my initial thing was like, oh, this is going to be awful. Like J.J. Abrams, like, I don't know. Blah. But then, I think realistically I was more or less a fan of it. It was like, okay, I guess we could bring back the other characters, but this is like a divergent timeline, and that's kind of a smart way to do it so that you don't, because it's like every time they make a new Star Trek, TV show, it's like they have to write all of these characters and all of this stuff, and then hopefully people will get into it, with these new characters where it's like, yeah, but everybody likes the old characters. That's why it did so well,
Yeah.
It's like, so I thought it was a pretty like cool way. So I'm thinking this might be along those lines where you're like, yeah, I don't know, but I think after a little while, it's kind of like, oh, this is good. This is good. This is a good idea, But
yeah,
it's kind of what I'm hoping, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Maybe I'm off in hoping that or whatever, but that's kind of that's pretty much sums up like where I'm at as far as that goes. But I could be off base. I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out. Because I haven't seen the end of season 1, so I'm not really sure, what it's going to turn into. And then obviously season 2 has happened where there's a big giant letdown, but maybe they don't even do a season 2. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I've heard some people that say that this was supposed to be just a limited 1 season thing, but
yeah, one off.
I don't know. Seems like a lot to produce to just do a one-off, you know what I mean? But that, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, is it like it seems like a lot of production? Just like, yeah, we're just doing this one season.
Yeah, I hope WandaVision only goes to 1 season, and they wrap up the storyline. That's
really,
yeah, absolutely. It's so boresome when they make a series and don't wrap it up properly, and then it get cancelled.
Yes.
It's just like rubbish.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it makes sense to like always wrap up a season and not leave a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
per se, like not like that, but I'm saying like, is there going to be a season 2? And like I said, I heard that it's just going to be 1 season, which I'm like,
all right.
Seems like a weird tactic to me, where to just be like, yeah, we're just going to do this 1 and that's it. I mean, they do have the opportunity to be like doing these seasons, but I guess like without movie ticket sales, it's probably a lot more difficult to figure out like how to budget and everything. You know what I mean? So
yeah, Disney's got to get some recompense for their purchase of Marvel. So I think the Disney Plus is a way of getting money in to pay for productions. So. And they've got all the data.
You don't have to. You don't have to pay for Disney Plus, or is it just a temporary thing that you don't have to pay for it?
There's only a free trial. Yeah.
Yeah, bastards.
Yeah, you have to pay for Disney Plus.
I was just because I assumed that, and then when I logged on to Disney the other day, and Plus is just there for me to, take what I want from. I just assumed, maybe it's not a pay thing, but. Then I also had this little inkling at the back of my tiny mind that was thinking, they're just luring me in with the good stuff, and then they'll make me pay $10 a month for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's under my understanding that we're paying for it. But I also have like a little baby here. I have a little daughter
that's where you get the value.
Definitely going to be watching cartoons and stuff. So it's not like.
G'day, Keith Hanshaw and T-Bone. How are you? Sorry, I had to go and install my father's new hearing aids. He hasn't been able to work out how to poke them into his ear, so I popped it into his ear and poked it with my finger.
You fingered your dad.
I fingered him right square in the ear.
Give him a wet willy, huh?
I should have. If only I'd have thought of that first. A quick wet willy before.
I'll be back in a second, guys. 1 sec.
Righty. What were you saying about WandaVision?
Well, I kind of was under my understanding that like it's only going to be 1 season, right? I think
so. I think there's still 2 episodes to come, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I haven't watched all of them, but. Yeah, I think there is like 2 more to come. I think it was like a total of 8 episodes or something like that, maybe 10. But
well, I think I just watched the 8th episode last night or the night before, and to me, it still felt like there's a little bit more to come yet.
Yeah.
before we find out what's really going on, because it's been quite intriguing the way they've twisted and turned the story about and made us think one thing, then make us think another thing. Interesting story. And did you follow my advice and wait until there was a few episodes out before you watched some?
I did, yeah. We watched like I said, I think we're on like episode 5 or something like that. Kind of just letting it marinate until we can watch the rest. That's kind of one of those things now. Vicky and I are pretty good about. It's just like we don't want to like get all completely caught up and then be like waiting a week, for one more, half an hour episode or something like that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, they certainly, those WandaVision episodes, I think I did say this after potentially watching the second one, that they just feel like they go so quick.
Right.
They're over in what feels like 7 minutes, but it's actually been 22.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this got my goat the other day big time, is that there's a really like the credits go for a fair while, and I've been informed that there's some interesting imagery that happens in the closing credits with all the I'm assuming it's like a TV screen, the RGB cells in a TV screen, but there's some interesting imagery. But like most Marvel productions, you sort of, everyone waits for those little Easter eggs at the end of the credits, and you sit there and you wait for them at the end of Wanda credits, and there's nothing. But now there's been 2 episodes, I think, where they've actually put stuff at the end of the credits. Yeah. So, you get pissed off with the really long credits after the first 3 episodes and go, oh, well, I don't have to watch the credits anymore. Right. And then all of a sudden they're sneaking stuff in at the end of the credits, vis-a-vis Marvel's modus operandi. So be careful if you're watching WandaVision. Check. Scroll through to the end of the credits before you go, good night, Wanda.
Check the end.
Yeah.
That's pretty much like a smart tactic with any superhero thing. Like there's always something snuck in at the end,
Yeah. Well, that's what I was like with the first 2 episodes of Wanda, and I was like, oh, I'll sit through these 7.5 minutes of credits to see what they poke at the end. Nothing. And then I go, all right, well, I no longer need to watch the credits. And then all of a sudden they start dropping shit in the credits.
Being sneaky.
Yeah.
So thankfully, Disney does use that style where you can slide your mouse along the line at the bottom with the dot on it, and it will give you a thumbnail for what's going on screen. So
that is helpful.
You still can just scroll along and have a look without having to watch all of the words on the screen. But and speaking of Marvel as well, I've done the g'day fatty rection. I got it. I can't believe that I said it out loud, but I had to work it out.
Yeah, gotcha.
Well done, Fatty. I'll give you points for that one. I've done like a bunch of because I've missed several of the recent Marvel movies. I didn't watch or properly watch what's the big purple dude, Thanos movies.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and do them, but I sort of had to go back a little bit before and fill in some blanks and do all the other ones. And when I first watched Spider-Man Far From Home, which is the one that comes after Endgame, I could watch that free on one of the streaming services that I have. Now I want to go back and watch it again to finish my timeline off, and no streaming service has it for free. It's only now available for rental on Amazon Prime for a hefty $5.99, I think. It's
Bastards.
Like, fuck you guys, I watched it for free 2 months ago.
Yeah.
But I'm finding heaps of stuff like that as well. Like the Alien movies, all of the Alien movies, you have to rent them. Even 1979 original Alien, you have to rent it on Amazon.
Yeah.
But now, thanks to Disney Stars, all of the Alien movies are free on there. So I've been soaking up a few of them as well.
That's definitely the weird thing, man. I listened to cinematographer's breakdown of Ridley Scott's anamorphic use in Alien and Aliens, right? Anamorphic lens use.
Right.
And like Blade Runner and all that kind of stuff, like earlier today. And I realized, like, man, I really want to go watch that now, like the legit version, like the fully uncut director's cut and whatnot, and kind of go through it. And then it's like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to download it, and then I go to look and it's like available for $6.99 on whatever, and it's like, okay, I have to like rent that. Okay, all right, it's like there comes a point in time where it's like, is it worth it at this point, like, to be charging money for this? But like, I guess charging for a service just continues to go on forever, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's not. I guess they consider it not a consumable,
Oh, can I say as well that the original Alien movie, I noticed on Disney Stars, very heavily censored. They was originally released as an R rating, but it was like watching a movie on old 80s or 90s, commercial television, where they drop the swear words, or there'd be this dodgy cut where they cut out the really violent bit.
That is weird. Huh.
And I thought, this, I wanted to actually revisit this movie in its original glory.
Right.
And here they are cutting out the really grisly, brutal bits that were the only bloody reason I was there in the first place.
That shocks. It goes without saying, you need to buy the DVD. Like, if you really like a movie and you want to watch it again throughout your life, there's nothing like having a hard copy. And this aren't going to die.
I've never necessarily been a huge fan of the Alien franchise, but like last night I was like, oh, do I watch Aliens? That was the big popular one that really sent it forth, and I really didn't want to watch Aliens, but then the next option was Alien 3, and I didn't really want to watch that one either.
No.
So I was like, yeah, well, I'll just watch Aliens and push through the whole lot.
Yeah.
And it was still certainly not as good as the first one. I mean, Bill Paxton was fantastic. And might I say, 2 Bill Paxton movies in one day. Oh, this may lead me on to one of my other subjects that I wanted to talk about. But one of my favorite movies as a teenage boy was Weird Science.
Oh yeah.
And Bill Paxton was in that as probably a very young 20-year-old, playing maybe an 18 or 19-year-old. But I've lost my train of thought. Weird Science.
Yeah.
There's a lot of if I was like a PC police, I'd be all over that movie.
Oh yeah.
But the how we say when a male school teacher has a crack at a female student, terrible stuff. And then there's the turnaround is that if a teenage schoolboy was hit on by a female school teacher, like the schoolboy would be like, oh, yeah. But in this movie, Weird Science, we have, a 20-something, late 20-year-old lady, and she's, doing strange things with 15-year-old boys.
Yeah. No, I mean,
there is a double standard.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the PC police is, and that I don't think that that's really a thing. But I definitely have heard in popular culture with people that have like way too big of a platform, like Joe Rogan, for instance, who was specifically talking about that, how, well, female teachers couldn't abuse teenage boys because teenage boys would be into it. And, like if I had that opportunity when I was a teenage boy, I would be totally stoked about it. And it's like, okay, man. So you think it's okay for adults to have sex with kids then, apparently. It's like,
yeah.
Well, if it's female on male, then yeah, I guess it's okay. Like an uninformed idiot, like a moron who's just not even thinking about anything that he's saying, right? And, I mean, not to get like super personal about anything, but I can tell you that like that is objectively abuse, and it's just as bad, either way you set it up.
Which way it goes. Yeah,
It doesn't matter which way it goes, but
it's a questionable adult in all circumstances.
Yeah, in all of that setup, and I think that's where, we go astray in like modern day culture, right? Because it is against the law, right? So we already know that is against the law, and it's a crime. You've committed a crime, right?
Yeah.
So we know that like society has already deemed this as a crime, right? It's a criminal situation. It doesn't really matter the genders of each or the sex of each person involved. It's a crime for the adult to do that, right? But as a society, we think that like, oh well, men are only singular dimensional, right? They have one dimension, and so it just doesn't really matter what you do to them, and it's like, that's bizarre to me. That's bizarre to me that like parents, like, Joe Rogan's like 53 years old and he has like 4 kids or something, and he's raising his kids in this environment of like, what are you doing, man? Like, are you even thinking about what it is that you're talking about? Like, and if this is what you're doing in public, like, how are you raising your kids privately? Like what is going on? Like,
when did he talk about that stuff? I haven't listened to Joe for quite a while.
I mean, I don't know. He's talked about it on numerous occasions when they've talked about like the teacher that had kids with her male student, and
right.
They bring it up all the time, and it's like, Brian Callen and them would be on there all like joking around about it, and Brendan Schaub would be on there, all talking about their dongs and stuff and going crazy. Here's the thing is like, I'm ultimately like a fan of those guys, right? You're like, I'm like a fan of them. Like, I think it's funny and this and that, but also it's like super questionable about like what it is are they really endorsing when it comes down to it, because Brian Callen supposedly was canceled, and I say this with air quotes, is that like somebody that he did some abusive stuff to came out and said like, yeah, that's the guy who did that, and it's like, he still has a job, he still has income, he still is able to make money and stuff, but
yeah, it's taken his time straight back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a repercussion for his actions, and then it's like, and then now he's playing the victim game, like, oh, I never did anything bad. Except, here's the weird thing: is that like their other friend, Chris D'Elia, right?
Yeah, he's gone, hasn't he?
Around the same time. Well, I mean, you could actually go look up his video that he just posted like a week ago. He came back now after like basically a year-ish or something like that.
Yeah, it keeps popping up, but I haven't clicked on it
yet. He came out and literally said, like, look, I was being inappropriate. I was acting inappropriately from a position of power, right? And he was saying that he was going to therapy and that he's working on it and he's doing what he can to like right whatever it was that he did wrong. But like, it's like a 15-minute video, but it's like, it's clearly from the heart. Like, he understands like what he was doing, what he was engaging with, and how it was unhealthy, and it's not how you operate on the earth, right? And that stuff's all like pretty interesting to me, where you see like one person's reaction is like Brian Callen starts doing conspiracy theory podcasts, Patreon only paid podcasts with whatever his name is, Sam Tripoli. And Chris D'Elia goes, all right, you know what? I'm going to go to therapy. I'm going to try to be a better dad to my kid. I'm going to try and figure out what I'm doing. And so it's you get multiple.
Are you saying D'Elia's gone the right way about it, and Callen's sort of still sitting in this denial area that he doesn't accept what he's done or something?
I mean, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like to me. That's what
he certainly hasn't come out and said anything to the extent that Chris D'Elia has defending himself.
No, I mean, he just continued on doing the exact same behavior that he was doing before, and it's like, not to like, I don't know much about his like personal relationships, but I have listened to a bunch of The Fighter and the Kid with him and Brendan Schaub, because there was a point where I thought that was a funny show, and it had a lot of funny parts to it and stuff, and it just went off the rails as far as I'm concerned. It just was literally those two guys talking about their junk for 2 hours, and that was basically it. And it was like, this is just pretty stupid. Yeah. And then,
I find Schaub really hit and miss. Like sometimes he's like gold, and the rest of the time it's just like he's a braggart.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes he's funny. Sometimes he's legitimately funny, but I mean, it's clear that he's like working on his craft. So I respect that for sure. Like, and it's pretty, I mean, it's evident that he continues to work at it to try and do better. But it's also pretty clear, like there's definitely two different groups of thought and what could be going on in that whole situation, where it's like you got Duncan Trussell, who is like super introspective, like LSD guy,
Have you seen his cartoon show, The Midnight Gospel?
I've only seen like little bits of it. I realistically haven't like sat down and watched a bunch of it or anything, but you have guys like Duncan Trussell and stuff like that, and Chris D'Elia, and like even like Joey Diaz, who's like at least turned the corner on his previous life. I mean, he still is he's pretty ridiculous, but at some point he went like, I don't know, that all that stuff was not good, and I gotta go the other direction.
Yeah, at least when you hear Joey Diaz talk, he does seem to have that facet to his personality that he realizes that all that shit was a little bit wrong, and now he's turned a corner, like you say. G'day, Zip Gun and Aquamate. Not sure who else I've missed. Yes, Chet was the brother in Weird Science.
That's right. Chet was the brother. He was the brother Chet. I think that was like one of his big. That was like a recurring role in all sorts of things for him for a long time.
I think he was certainly tarnished with that brush, because he was always that dude in movies. I get a strange feeling that potentially that dude was in fact Bill Paxton in real life.
Yeah.
G'day, Zip Gun as well. Oingo Boingo. Wasn't that Danny Elfman's band? Was it Danny Elfman or the Mothers? No, the Mothers Bow Brothers were Devo. Danny Elfman was the Simpsons theme creator and many other cinematic scores.
Yeah, he's done a lot. Yeah, I think it was the Elfman brothers in Oingo Boingo. I think that sounds right.
I'm going to back myself 100% on that fact.
All right.
200%. I'm going to raise myself 100 and go to 200%.
It's a lot of percentages, my friend.
200 proof.
So many percent.
200 proof, 100%.
Yeah.
That's just pure.
Back on Weird Sciences. I think that the the older woman doing the strange, potentially sexual things with the 15-year-old boys wasn't the worst thing about that movie's political correctness, because there was this whole, I'm going to say 5, maybe 6 minute scene where Anthony Michael Hall was drunk in a nightclub and he was imitating a black man, and it was really terribly and offensively done. And I don't offend easily.
Oh.
True, you don't.
Stinker.
Both the boys in that movie had they had talking volume, which was a little volume down here, and then they had angry volume. Oh, it's so hard to do hand signs in these narrow screens.
Yeah.
And both of the main character lads in that movie had normal voices for when they were being normal, but when things escalated and they had to shout or yell, it was this terrible, piercing, prepubescent scrawl of a voice that was potentially even more offensive than Anthony Michael Hall's black man impression.
But hold on a sec. Weird Science was the movie where they downloaded a woman and made her from some computer, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's like not a real person, so like I think that's the whole.
Yeah, so she's not a real person for starters, but also, even if she's an android or a simulation or a hologram or whatever, her age is less than the boys.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That alleviates most of my issues with that movie, except for the black scene.
Yeah,
in the realm of suspended disbelief. That's right.
Yeah, there's a animation called Chobbits, I think it's called, about the guy that finds a love cyborg in a bin, and he repairs it, and the thing just it's a bit on the nose, like it's sus manga, but her age is definitely not that old. Like she's not that old at all. But she's, a fully fledged woman of sorts, and all kinds of such shit happens, and that's the reverse, I guess.
Well, doesn't that also then reverse my original Weird Science thing that these two 15-year-old boys are playing around with something that's not even a year old yet?
Yeah.
That makes it weird too. Either way, it's weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Oh, it's in the title. Good. It's in the title, guys. They call it Weird Science. Problem solved. Problem.
Yeah, 2050 movie just called Pedos.
I guess the ultimate massive question coming out of this is how would they make that movie nowadays?
Yeah.
What would that kind of film look like?
I don't know. I mean, I put it in the realm because like the one that people bring up a lot is Blazing Saddles, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no way you could make Blazing Saddles in this day and age. And my argument to that has always been like, well, Mel Brooks isn't dead. So you could make that movie, right? Because Mel Brooks could rewrite that.
He'd do a complete modern take on it and do it all proper.
I mean, he'd be like me. He'd drink a bunch of coffee, and then he'd sit down and rewrite the whole thing. So I think you could do Blazing Saddles as far as I'm concerned, because Mel Brooks is still the genius behind it and could likely do something to adapt it to now. But that being said, like if you just reshot it shot for shot, well, first of all, you can't do that because remaking the exact same movie
pointless.
It's just plagiarism, really.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I don't think you could do it because you'd be like, I've already seen this movie, but I've already seen this. So, but on the other hand, is like, I'm not sure that Mel Brooks would do that movie now because he's like, the context wouldn't work. The context wouldn't make any sense to what's going on in the world now, you know? So, I mean, like, could you remake Weird Science? I think it's possible because like computers are still contextual. I mean, I would almost think that like, what was that? Ex Machina. Ex Machina was kind of like Weird Science, where it was like, I've got the robot girlfriend, and then she becomes sentient and then goes off to do her own thing, you know, and it's, you know, it pretty much means that like they all get dead because she's a robot and doesn't really care and just wants to be free, right?
On the subject of Ex Machina as well, is anyone else hanging out for a sequel to find out what she got up to?
Well, she needed the house to be charged, so of course
it was so. I mean, that film was so well done. Yeah, I mean, I totally would. I definitely would watch the.
I'd watch it, but the plot hole is she was walking around on induction pads in the apartment, and she needed that to keep powered up. So she's free.
Is she going to go 150 yards into the bush and then just fall over?
Exactly. She had that trap built into her, and I don't think she was aware of it. So unless they've got some sort of, she jumps between, you know, those induction recharge electric buses that they have in some cities and goes from pad to pad charging herself.
Yeah.
She's fucked.
I'm sure that if you wrote the film, like you'd be like, you'd write in a resolution there.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like that.
True.
She is sentient and has all the information, basically. Like, I mean, you can access all the information on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, in my mind, the assumption is that like she would figure it out and then it would go from there. But also at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it would be hard to say like where it would go. You know what I mean? Because like what would drive the character? You know what I mean? Like what would be driving her to do anything other than just like walk around in the woods and die or whatever? You know, like I don't know. I would find it difficult to write that.
The apartment, for starters, she wasn't created in that apartment because it didn't have a workshop.
Right.
So there's a factory offsite somewhere or a workshop at the very least where she was manufactured, and getting to that point to recreate some companions would be high on the priority list to create some character dynamics.
Right.
Because you can't just rely on the sole robot woman angle for too long. I think that'd get a bit tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think AIs would be another trace to go along. You know, I make the mistake constantly at home of thinking there's just one AI out there looking at my data, giving me YouTube feeds and listening in on my phones and giving me ads for things that I've talked about. And then I read an article just last week about how they've broken through into predicting thoughts by extrapolation and guessing of what you've talked about or written about or read.
So
and they can extrapolate the next thing. Yeah.
Right. So the thing is that like it already does that.
Yeah.
You know, and most people think it's a conspiracy that like the phone is listening to you or whatever. And what I've tried to explain to people is that everything that you do that it can track information from, right? So, you know, that's to say that like Google can't track everything that you do, but let's say they get 60% of all the stuff that you search for and watch or whatever, right? Well, they will aggregate all of that 60% of the stuff that you do, and they put you into groups of what other people anonymously are doing, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't help them to give you your name and all of that kind of stuff. It's just you're like a number, and then it categorizes all of these numbers into groups over time, right?
Yeah.
And the people that have done, for instance, so the people that have looked up the like last 10 things that you bought or watched or whatever, that kind of stuff. Once you're in that group, then it can predict from the people that did that 10 times before that, like, oh, you're about to like look up a Toyota truck.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened like 60,000 times before out of this group of people that did these 10 things, right?
Yeah.
Is that like
conditions
500 of them ended up buying a Toyota truck, which to them is like, whoa, Yahtzee,
That's targeted advertising. That's good. That's some good money.
So, and that's the thing. Like that's what those systems are aggregating as far as information goes. It's just what it is that you're doing and what it is that other people did the same pattern that you've been doing, what they ultimately bought, right? So, like, my mom was freaking out because I guess what happened was that she got this advertisement for a coffee table that holds puzzles. And she was like, oh my God, they are listening to my conversations, right? And I was like, and I had to sit down and explain it to her that, like, it's giving you the advertising for the puzzle coffee table thing based on the last, like, it might be 30 things that you did, whatever it is. And that a whole bunch of other people in the same group got an idea to get a coffee table that holds puzzles, right? And so it's like, oh, I'll spend the 2 cents to serve up this ad to somebody who might buy a puzzle coffee table. That's basically what it's doing. Because, like, the thing is, if you just look at the hosting, for instance, of YouTube, right? So it's something like, what is it? Like 100 hours of YouTube content is uploaded like every minute, right? Something like that. And it is an insane amount of data. Like, it is like Google is just building servers all the time. Like, that's basically what Google is doing, is just building giant warehouses full of servers, right? And so if we know that, like, Google is already doing that, if they just started like recording and listening to everybody's phone calls, like, how many more server buildings can you build? Like, you get to a point where it's like, it's so much data, there's nowhere to store it. Like, there's no way to keep it.
And
then, like,
Mary Page.
Well, and then you're supposed to you're supposed to crunch the numbers on, like, analyzing all of the phone calls and conversations that you've recorded to, like, find out what it is that, like, people want to do. Whereas you clicking on stuff is like one bit of data, basically. It's like just nothing. And you're like,
your digital profile it's got a database of likes and interests and dislikes and disinterests. And that way, that it's not a massive recording, a server full of recordings. It's just if the recording using algorithms listens in and hears a few keywords, it'll tick a few boxes, and that's a lot less data. So I'm quite happy for it.
The thing is, like, it's not necessarily listening for keywords. Like, Alexa and those things are listening for keywords and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. You would end up with this monumental garbage pile of data that is essentially useless. Like, you'd have to sort through a giant haystack to find a needle when you already have a stack of needles over here that's like way easier to get, which is just like the behavior of things that you click on already.
Yeah.
Like, you've already given them the information. There's no reason to collect a whole bunch of other information from you.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they don't care. They don't care what your opinions are. They care what your shopping habits are.
Yeah, I know. I could imagine, though, on the database of our profiles, that repetition of interest would register. So if you've searched or talked about, say, micro remote control cars, like I do, it's got an interest box that's been clicked at least 5 times, so it shows that I've got a high interest to that market. And sure enough, I get ads for it, and I love that. I'd prefer to get ads that are targeted and tailored to me than ads that have nothing to do with me.
So, like, here's a good example of like, well, I mean, the thing is, like, they're not really like listening in. What I'm saying is that like that's all useless information to like listen to somebody's conversation when you could. So when people go onto Instagram, for instance, Instagram is a perfect. It's like a perfect example of like tracking people's behavior, right? So one of the major things that like Instagram is doing is like it's the likes and what it is that you liked, right? And how that corresponds with how much time you spend. So like one of the things that it tracks is how long you are stationary on a specific thing.
Yeah.
Right. So to listen to you talk about like RC cars, right, for hours and hours on end, when they could go, well, you spent 16 minutes on Instagram and 85% of it you spent looking at RC cars, right? Then it already had, there you go. They don't need to know anything else. Like they don't need to like, they don't need to know like what you were singing in the shower because it doesn't matter. Like,
and like to prove it, another point is these particular micro remote control cars that I got that are fully proportional from China, from Turbo Racing, little, is it a Morris Minor? I can't remember. Yeah, little tiny little 1/76 scale.
I know a guy that owns like one of the coolest Morse miners ever.
Yeah, right. So these are these are 1/76 scale. So they're really tiny cars.
Right.
Fully proportional. So the steering and the throttle is all proportional. And since buying them, I've, talked about them to so many people. I've recommended them. I've posted videos of it on YouTube. Yeah. I'm advertising for that company. I honestly, I wish I could line up a deal with the company and get a couple of boxfuls and demo them to shops around Australia when I go on tour, and be a promoter for that company. But I don't speak Chinese, so I'm fucked. These guys are in Shenzhen, and they're doing their best to market the shit using traditional avenues. But in a tiny marketplace like Australia, we don't make much of a dent. But I could, I'd really get a kick out of promoting their shit because it's a good product.
Well, that's a weird thing. Like, I'll tell you from like going to conventions and stuff, like, and talking to the Chinese vendors that are there, and they actually bring like very fluent translators with them. It's not even like, it does take time. It does take time to be like, make sure you're kind of going back and forth so that everything, so the conversations are much longer. But they are very interested in people promoting whatever it is that they're doing because, business in China is very, 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 very different than it is in Australia and America. That is for sure. In China, if you talk to some of these Chinese manufacturers and you literally are like, hey, can you make this for me? And they're like, oh, exactly like that with the same label and everything. And you're like, yeah, make this. Just make me 400,000 of these. And they'd be like, okay, put a deposit down and we'll just make it exactly like that. Right. And you're like, does copyright or anything mean anything to you? And they're like,
no.
Do you want a different label that says your thing? We'll make that. And you're like, yeah, make it say poopy smelly farts. And they'd be like, all right, yeah, we'll put them on a boat and send them over. Like it's just it's completely different. Whereas you talk to American companies and they're like, well, I think maybe we could consider a prospectus sheet where we could maybe come together and we'll have 6 meetings about it. And maybe we could Zoom and maybe we could do this and maybe we could do that. And then maybe we could sit down and make sure that like you have enough of an audience so that we'll be able to establish like a good communication with your following. Like the people that are following you, they buy a lot of stuff, you think, maybe, and you're like, I'm gonna need to walk away now and go far, far away. Because it's like what is happening right now? Like, it's weird talking to a weird robot person, that most of the American companies, a lot of the European companies that I've talked to are like that. They're just like, well, we need to make sure that we're going to get a solid return on our money and blah 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 blah. And you're like, $1,000 out of your advertising budget, right? Like I was at Interzoo, and one of the companies that I was talking with, they spent 350,000 euro to be at Interzoo, right?
Jeez.
And at the time, it was about 2-to-1 American dollars, so it was like 700,000 US that they spent. That doesn't even count like the sales guys and anything like that. That was just the stage and the food and the booth.
The booth, yeah. And
it's like, but you're spending this amount of money to only advertise to people that like own stores and do business and stuff. That's it. Like there's no fans there. Like, one of the reasons I think it's really great to go to Interzoo is that it's gigantic, first of all. So like everybody's there, but it's very interesting because like it's not oriented for fans, right? It's oriented for to display all of the new products so that stuff can like go out into the world. So it's very different. It's a very different like experience, than going to one of the fan conventions. But the very, very weird dynamic was like, the Chinese companies were like, yeah, we'll do whatever you want. Let's do it. Let's go. Like, oh, it's going to cost like $800. Who cares? Let's do it.
We have
whereas American companies were like, oh, I don't know. Why don't you look at my business card and we'll get back to you when we get back to the States. And it's like, dude, we're in Germany right now. You want to fly back to the United States before we have a conversation? Like, we're standing right here.
Yeah.
I would, I have to fly 5,000 miles to go like, or 8,000 miles or whatever the hell it is to like, then be able to email you.
Yeah.
Like
so the trade fairs in Australia that we've done are stupidly expensive, but they tell you like the rules. You can't sell stock off your stall, like your booth, in the first couple of days, and then the last day it's a free for all. So we were still taking orders for stock off the shelves on those first couple of days. Going, yeah, of course. You saw what you want. We're gonna make sure it's saved for you.
Right.
And then on the last day they'd come by, pay and pick it up, and but the cost was ridiculous. Like the cost of getting a booth compared to how much you'd sell. And then you've got your accommodation really close by in the city. Oh. It's just fucking stupid. So we don't do trade fairs anymore.
The hotels are like 3 times the price of what they normally would be.
Yeah, they're milking it, and everyone's milking it.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, no, this is a shitty production. Like this is a fucking joke.
G'day, Xanadu.
Xanadu.
Do.
But yeah, I'd love to do get a ticket to go to one of the pet orientated trade fairs if there are one in Australia. That'd be rad.
Yeah, I did one in Melbourne last year.
Yeah, did you take video and load it up?
Some. I actually don't think I did my actual expo video. I think I did a couple of other videos that I shot while I was down in Melbourne. Yeah. I did a fish room tour of Aquamate's fish tanks. And I think one of the aeroplane flight down and back, but I think I've still got all of my footage from the expo itself that I'd never made into a video, and it may have pissed some people off because me and Sarah, we did a art auction before to raise some money to go down to Melbourne, and a lot of people bought some wonderful pieces of Sarah's art and stuff to help us fund our trip to Melbourne.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel some people may have felt a little bit let down that I didn't provide them with my expo video that I shot. But, you know, there was 5 or 6 other Australian fish tubers there as well that all did videos. And so I was like, I'll hold off on mine for a little while. And now it's nearly 2 years later and I still haven't put that video on the YouTubes.
Well, post-COVID, we should get our asses down there and fucking do it, and potentially meet up with the other fish tubers and have a pub stream or something afterwards. And
that'd be a great idea, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. I really want to come down to Australia and then try to go to New Zealand and stuff. And I know that it's something that's going to happen at some point in time. I don't know when, but obviously COVID is
fucking us all awesome.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Texas today decided that they're just not going to do any COVID precautions anymore. They're like, nah. All of Texas, it doesn't matter. Who cares? I guess they're all just like decided that they're going to die or something. I don't understand.
Yeah, pessimism generally wins.
Wealth distribution too. Like if someone dies, their money goes to someone else, and the government taxes it, making money out of people dying. It's pretty simple.
Well, they definitely overturned a lot of the taxes related to inherited wealth over the last years. So it doesn't seem like a good plan. It seems like a better plan to keep them alive.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure,
but that's just me. I don't know. I'm just one of those. I guess it's all just unfriendly things if I was to say them at this point. But I'm just one of those bleeding heart lefties or whatever.
Well, I think the biggest issue that came out of the crikey, I can't even remember what it's called now. It was called the Underwater Pet Expo, and then someone in the chat helped me out. Splash. They changed it to Splash for some reason. The name of it. It was the first big one that was done on the East Coast that wasn't like. There's been other expos and stuff with regard to fish keeping, but most of them have been saltwater based.
Okay.
And this was kind of the first one where they were doing mostly freshwater stuff with a little bit of saltwater, and it went off really well, had lots of great support, and it was, this was February 2020. So the expo finished, and basically a week later, COVID rooted us all and said no more of that stuff. So they had to cancel this year's one, and fingers crossed, because like I said, it did generate a lot of interest. There was a lot of people that were saying, great idea. It's only going to grow bigger. So fingers crossed, come 2021, we might have another version of it that will be bigger and more impressive.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we obviously need good events. We need good, solid events that people can go to and have a good time.
Well, they kind of perpetuate the hobby, don't they? Because people can they can stagnate and get a little bit lax about what's actually going on in the hobby. And then they can go to something like that and see a whole bunch of new things. See a whole bunch of new stuff that they hadn't thought of or didn't know existed, and then all of a sudden someone's passion is reignited by some fancy new silicon product that tickles you behind the ear, and you don't even have to touch. No, hang on, that's the wrong expo, isn't it?
Yeah. Sexpo. We've got
some new fish food or ornament or something.
I've never been to Sexpo, but apparently it's quite fun. They have that in Brisbane. The Naughty Sex Show Expo for all the
I've never been to either.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty fun. More fun for women, I guess.
Yeah, especially like getting around with not much clothing on.
Yeah.
But essentially too, I guess raising the issue of people buying, like when we had our auction of Sarah's artwork to get us down to Melbourne, we had like a vastly different crew of people here. There was a lot of different people, and the roster of people that certainly swing by now and watch this stream are a little bit different. But I still need an avenue to sell my lady's artwork, and potentially we might have to do an auction or something in here again soon, just to see how the new people that have come along take to Sarah's artwork.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Essentially, we also need to, go and do 2 months in a big city and try and get some gallery exposure and stuff like that. Because certainly living in a small country area is not conducive to getting your artwork out to a lot of people.
We're swamped in our area. There's just so many visual artists. It's not funny.
Right.
Yeah, and lots of shit ones too.
That's always kind of that's always kind of the weird thing when you get out there into the sticks and start to realize that like there's a much lower number population wise, but there's a much higher percentage of artists, because it's like it's where they can afford to live and work, and try to produce something.
And they're all
but then there's not a lot of customers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're enjoying the lifestyle is certainly conducive to producing solid art, but it's not conducive to producing an audience so much for that artwork. Especially, Sarah's artwork is quite unique and needs to be seen to be believed.
It's honestly one of the sad things is that like it used to be, like the warehouse districts outside of the city that were really the spot, for artists to get like a loft space that they could work and live in for a reasonable price. Whereas that's all gone now, it's all super, like fancy people live there now. Like it's just kind of bizarre to me.
All of those industrial art studios now go for mega bucks.
Yeah, they're all just like, oh, this is a $4 million loft. You're like,
artists can't afford that shit. Jesus.
Oh, I guess I have to move to where a farm is. I guess live in a trailer now. I guess I don't know.
G'day,
which, it was like always my dream to like have a big warehouse, that I lived in that was converted. But nowadays it's like
for 9 months.
Would you be able to do that?
I lived in a warehouse for 9 months. No hot water, but we could play indoor cricket in our lounge room. So
yep, nice.
You've got to weigh these things up, innit?
Yeah. Freedom and space, headroom.
We had one of those camp showers where it was basically a big canvas bucket. And you'd boil up a big 10-litre boiler on the stove, the gas stove, cook up some hot water, but then that broke and it was like, cold showers, or do we have to walk into the transit centre in Brisbane for a hot shower? Right. And that was always a bit dodgy. So, there's certain things in life inure to a cold shower. One of them is not wanting to shower in the transit centre where all the hobos wash.
Yeah, so that's a rough one, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Blacky, we've got to integrate with the SAE campus, because I really think that there's some budding musicians out there that could handle using Sarah's art on a bigger scale.
Oh yeah,
the decor in the film clip, and then in the links on the YouTube link for the film clip, you can say all artwork in this video is for sale. Hit this link.
Yeah,
and getting art in film clips, and everybody's art in the film clip is for sale.
Right.
I think that's an ultimate advertising medium. If the clip blows up, or from hot stories on local media saying, oh, these guys use local artists for all the decor in the film clip, you should watch it and check it out, and then it just goes viral because no one's done it yet, where they've basically held an auction. Well, not really an auction, but it's a sales pitch of integration of local artists to get their wares out at the same time as promoting the music.
Yeah,
a lot of young musicians in that SAE club. That's good fun.
Oh, speaking of young musicians, my son has a track that's banging out on Spotify and SoundCloud with the rapper Chiggz, Chiggz, or Z if you're an Australian or an Englishman. Apparently was released last week, and it's just getting stacks and stacks of listens on Spotify and SoundCloud and stuff. So go apart, rocking it.
All right.
Rapper Chiggz put out I think it was a 7-track EP, and I think 5 of the tracks on the EP were apart's music.
Oh. Nice. Get one of them into a video. Make a fucking video. It's all about the film clips, man. It fucking works. That way you can get onto Rage. Get into mainstream culture, people who don't have internet.
I just don't know. I'm not 100% certain how we can link Sarah's artwork to, urban twit heads rap.
Where's Chiggz at?
I think he's based out of Tweed Heads, but I think he's southeast Queensland mob.
That's fucking close.
There's a crew. I think there's 3 of them, and they're all young Aboriginal dudes, and they're all doing pretty well. There was a live event on Facebook not long ago where they did a whole bunch of their tracks, and when they did apart songs, they were shouting out apart.
Nice.
I think my 18-year-old son has already made more money out of his music than I did in 20 years.
Yeah, right.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. It's
Wait a minute. How much? It's like, wait a minute. How much did we make doing this? 2 pitchers of beer. Okay, great.
Yeah, I owned a case once. That was good.
Yeah,
making music, that was good, and especially because we're underage, so owning a case of beer was like, oh fuck yeah, thank you.
Oh, speaking of that too, one of the fellas in the, like, we've got a Australian fish tuber chat group in the Facebook chat. There's about 8 or 9 of us in there, and one of the fellas the other day, we were talking about Bitcoin. And one of the fellas said that I don't know if it was him, but he had a mate who gave someone 2 Bitcoin for a case of beer.
Fuck.
Back 15 years ago, or whenever it first came out. That carton of beer is now worth, more than 100 grand down here in Australia, apparently.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Pretty wild. That's want to be some tasty beer for that sort of money.
Well, it wasn't that much back then. So
no, it was a joke back then. That was why it was such a thing. 2 Bitcoins for a box of beer. Yeah. I wonder how much talking into it had to be done. Oh, come on, this is going to be worth heaps one day. Did he even have to do that?
Does he still have it, or?
I'm not sure. I didn't ask the follow-up question. I was satisfied with the first bit.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, Bitcoin was kind of wavering around 48 grand.
Yep. I checked
Right
last
around
night.
there.
Last time I checked was probably 4 days ago, and it was like 62 Australian.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's probably right. I think the U.S. dollar is pretty strong right now because of COVID speculation. You know,
that vaccine. It's fixing the economy everywhere.
I've been drawn into some new coin called Pi, and some guys from Stanford reckon that it's worthy, and I've got about 115 on the last count, and check out CoinStats, and it's pegged at 33 cents a coin as the IOU price before it gets publicly launched. But that's still pretty good. I've gotten 114 coins for nothing just by pressing a button every 24 hours and linking in a few other people. It's going all right. So
yeah. Are you guys mining it? Are you mining it as a group?
Well, at the moment, it's just a mobile app, and they reckon that it's being mined by a central server. But they want to make it so it's more people are. Yeah, you're onto it, Michael. Cool. Blacky's into it. Got to link you up as my part of my group.
You certainly weren't the first person to send me the link.
Right. Okay.
So after I'd received an invite to do my own pie, I think I'd received the invite about 7 or 8 times, and then I thought, oh fuck, I suppose I'll do it. Doesn't cost me anything.
No.
Might as well, right?
And that's I'm sure that's
I've had a few people recommend Pi, but I don't know.
The first 4 or 5, I just thought, oh fuck, here we go. It's just another gimmicky, silly thing. And then I'm thinking to myself, but that's what Bitcoin was. It was just a silly, gimmicky thing.
Exactly.
Now it's worth money to some people, whether it be that way for long or not. It's still currently worth some money.
Yeah. If you can get a free case of beer out of it.
Yeah.
That's I think that's the metric. If you can get a case of beer out of it,
right.
it's worthy. Fuck it.
But I'm that rookie on Pi at the moment that when I get a message from someone in the chat saying, link me your cash Pi, what does that mean? How do I link it?
You can link people into your security circle. So that just improves your mining rate and their mining rate. So
I thought it only was reliant on if you messaged other people and invited other people in, they were the only people you could get.
No, you can link in other people that are already into it. Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and get a boost.
Because it seems silly that if I'm on there, I might as well have you, and I might as well have Joel G and anyone else as well. What if we can all just spiderweb and link into one another's? Then that's the way to do it. Surely.
Yeah, for sure. Mine while it's
surely
it's available.
It's so surely because no one is sure.
Yeah. It is a giant pyramid scheme at the moment, though. The people who got in early probably have thousands of coins, and here we are, mere peasants with hundreds, if that.
What was mine? Mine was only 3 or something. So
right.
3.9408. I'll be getting 4 any day now.
Yeah, nice. Got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm going to go and quickly wrestle a crocodile.
The thing is with crypto, there's just so many of them now.
Check out the CoinStats app. There's 999 listings.
Yeah,
there's so fucking many. It's so diverse, and I think that's part of the strength of the whole system is that these things will potentially not devalue; they'll increase in value. Whereas real money, fiat currency, just devalues all the fucking time, and people have this false sense of idea, like especially people who are slightly better off than others, where they constantly say, "Oh, my collector's item from 20 years ago is worth twice as much now," and it's like, actually, it's worth the same. It's just money's devalued by 50% devaluation during that period of time. And we get it a lot in Mullumbimby, where me and Blacky are with property prices. The sky's gone, like the price has gone through the roof, and it's not necessarily that property value has increased. Well, it has, but the property value is increased not by a function of it being worth more money. It's that money is worth less because the people have security and a good deal as far as decent amount of land and nice balance. That shit's maintained its value or just slightly increased its value versus a 1-bedroom apartment in a city where, it's shit. It might be highly valuable, but it's a shit investment because it's not a way to live a life. You're constantly having to leave your house to have a good time. And honestly, having a good time in your own home is a privilege and an honor.
Terry's Tropical Tank says, what is to stop a crypto to devalue?
Well,
another 50 cryptos starting up.
Yeah. It devalues usually through people selling. It'll reach a certain price, and then a lot of people will cash out, and that'll put the other people. It'll set a trend, and a lot of people will sell out, and next minute it's halved in value, which sucks. But that's just the way it is. People want to cash out and make a real cash out of their own time or money that they've invested. So that'll always happen, and then that's the best time to buy in. If you're willing to part with real cash for some crypto, wait until the fucker drops. And if it's dropped a lot, chances are it'll bounce back because it's got some good reasons to be so high in the first place.
Yeah, and potentially don't invest what you can't afford to lose. It's basically
it's a gamble.
No different than a horse race, yeah?
Exactly. It's gambling.
You can't afford to lose
dump, man. Pump and dump.
Pump and dump?
Yeah. That's what it's called. It's called the pump and dump, which they pump the price up, they dump it off, and drops back down. You pump the price up. Elon Musk does it like artificially. He just starts talking about it online and stuff, and then all of a sudden people start dumping their money into it, and it goes up, and then he takes his money out. And then he puts his money back in when it goes back down, and then he talks about it again. Oh, it's going to change the world. And then people put their money in because they think he's some kind of genius.
Wizard. Yeah. I got a few Doges. I've got a wallet full of 700 Doge coins or Doge.
Yeah.
And they've done pretty well considering they were just a joke currency for, do a few Google reviews and a few hundred Doge coins. Yeah, so sitting on those. See if they ever make the dollar mark. That'll be a laugh.
Turns out Joel is a big fan of the pump and dump.
I had Bitcoin Cash, which I got out of a little while ago because it went way up, and then I was like, "Yep, time to exit." And I still have some Litecoin, because Litecoin is pretty high on the registry of,
That's another different crypto, is it?
Yeah.
I haven't even heard of that.
LITE.
Yeah. It's pretty high up as a potentially secure one or whatever, but yeah, we have a guy here that he's like way into that's what he does. Like he invests in crypto and crypto startups and stuff, and keeps trying to convince us to put a good amount of money in. But it's just like it's such a non-assurance.
Yeah, and a massive
investment. I don't know, man. I'd rather just put 20 grand into an index fund and it go up by 12% every year or whatever. That's fine.
So if I was to move this show onto a current affairs kind of situation,
all right.
If I put Japan and China in the same sentence, where would I be?
Where would you be?
Current affairs story coming out in the last couple of days between Japan and China. Anything take your fancy?
Off the top of my head, no.
I've got no idea.
So the Japanese government has asked the Chinese government to stop anally swabbing Japanese tourists.
The American embassy came out about that too.
Did they? It's gone that far. Mm-hmm. Apparently, the Japanese do not want their anuses fiddled with by Chinese people with Q-tips.
Yeah, it seems to be the one. Seems to be the one deterrent. From people
traveling,
behaving and misbehaving is like, we're gonna swab your butthole. Okay, well, I'm gonna follow the protocols then. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's quite a big thing that the Japanese citizens that have succumbed to these tests are experiencing some, dramatic level of mental distress of having their anus fiddled with by an airport human and a Q-tip. And it's causing massive problems.
Well, what are they testing for?
You got a COVID test. Yeah, it's an up-to-date COVID test.
Oh.
Yeah, the COVID test is a butt swab. They're going in there, Q-tipping your anus.
One could only assume that they're only doing it because they're obviously after much more information than just COVID positive or negative. You can learn so much about a person from what you scrape from their anus.
Well, yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I think there's something much deeper. Hey, I didn't even think about that one until I said it. And darker.
It could almost be just like a personal situation, like maybe you're trolling for people that are into it, maybe that's how it goes. Maybe that's what it's all about. Maybe they're like, hey, we got to find out who's into it, and then we can put them on the list.
Couldn't they just they could organize the people and go, please queue to this side if you like it up the bum. If you only want it in the nose, queue to this side.
Well, I think what it is like, if you did that, people would just not sign up for the butt one, Yeah. But if you said everyone's getting butt swab, well, hey, everybody's got to go for it. And then, they use the Chinese the Chinese facial recognition software to find out whose emotion is
who
joyous.
Went or who went.
Yeah. They use that software to sort it out, and they already have your passport information because they scan it into that thing. You
just save one up after your flight and fucking just blurt it out all over them when they go for it.
Well, I guess from my understanding, I guess the anal swab is much more accurate to test for the specific strains, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Is the big reasoning for it, because they're like, well, we want to see which strain is coming and going and knowing what's going on. Yeah. And you're kind of like, really? Is that the plan? I don't know. It feels more.
Just keep telling yourselves that.
Yeah, it feels like more of a personal weirdness. I think. I think most government officials are probably more motivated by their own sexual predilection more than anything else. I think, honestly, it seems to be the case over the years. That
what was the
most of them are arrested at some point in time for some kind of nonsense.
What American department did you say it came out from?
Oh, the American embassy and whatnot. They were all pissed about it, as apparently they got put on the anal swab list, which I'm like, that seems voluntary. You know what I mean? Like somebody was like, oh yeah, we have to put the Americans on there for sure. On that list.
So it's not like they're just picking on one of their foreign neighbors. It's like they're giving everyone a taste of it up the date.
I think they're giving it all a little of the old swabberoonie there.
Well, yeah, as long as they're sharing it around and everyone's getting a bit, then I'm okay with that.
There's potentially another thing here. A recent South Park episode was obsessed all about fecal transplants and how Tom Brady, the legendary quarterback in the NFL, his dookies were like the spice melange out of June, and everyone wanted one of Tom Brady's dookies to do fecal transplants because they thought that would be the key to happiness and health. And everyone was trying to get his spice melange booze. It was fucking hilarious. Maybe the Chinese have watched this South Park and gone, "Oh, butt flora might be a fucking future avenue to make a lot of money, so we can collect a lot of samples of anus."
I mean, tiger's balls and rhino's horns make them live forever. So Tom Brady's poo might too.
Yeah, and who knows who else has more poo power than other people?
It might just be considered normal at this point.
Yeah.
The new normal, as it were.
The new normal is poo sampling.
Has someone thought about hashtagging that and putting it on a shirt? The new normal.
The new normal.
It would be just unfathomable to see such a thing on a shirt. Where is South Park up to, and where do the new episodes stream? Because I haven't seen a new episode for quite some time.
I don't know. I was never really like a big fan. I know that we've disagreed on this before, but
I don't know if we've disagreed, but I've certainly heard your malcontent towards the South Park television broadcast.
It's just like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like been here so long, and it just like, yeah, all right.
It's only relevant. It's only relevant when you watch it when it's being released, because in the last 4 seasons, everything's been very heavily. It's all super fresh, related to current events, making jokes about real shit that's going on, and whereas if you watch it years later, it's like, nah.
Yeah, and you've forgotten that shit. You've forgotten the thing that they were talking about.
Yeah. But the last season that's just been released, the whole intro is about Tegrity Farms and Randy having a weed farm, and
I remember that one.
Fucking hilarious. And then the Christmas special came out, and the weed got banned by Santa, and the alcohol got banned by Santa. So Randy starts making artisanal cocaine, and it's fucking hilarious because they not only deal with current events, they push the boundaries on what might be a future event or future issue or outcome. And honestly, like the war on drugs in America with cocaine, fucking stop being dumbasses, end your fucking war, and let people grow coca in America and give people artisanal fucking cocaine. Simple.
I mean, are drugs legal? Are drugs legal in Australia? Like,
no, but
I don't know. Hey, man, figure out how to legalize stuff in Australia before you start yelling at me about my stupid country being stupid. Like,
I'm not saying you're stupid.
Yell at your own stupid people for being stupid. Okay,
well, we're doing it.
I'm no fan of the war on drugs. I'm no fan of the war on drugs. But to somehow exclaim that, like, Australia's not in a war on drugs. I mean, I would imagine that you are also. If we start
to it. America just gets that tarnished with the brush of whitey, so that people from all around the world can just blame America, but essentially,
I mean, the thing is,
like whitey countries like us.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but here's the thing: the United States has a military base in every freaking country. It's the war on war that's the problem. Okay?
Yeah.
Like the war on drugs is 100% an issue, and yes, I agree with that. But like, why does America have the reputation? Is because we have soldiers in everybody's country. Okay, and when I talk to Americans about this, they're like, "Oh no, that's normal." Like, dude, it's not normal. Is there a South Korean army base down the street from your house? Is there a French military installation down the street? Is there a British one? No, there's not any in the U.S. There's not a single military installation from some other country in the United States. But the United States has them all around the world. I think we have like 900 or something crazy like that.
Everyone just accepts it.
I mean, the realistic problem is the war on just having war all the time. I mean, it's just bonkers.
Yeah, so true. Like, honestly, like in Australia, we've got a decent crop of coca that's spread around the nation, and we have already got people locally producing it. If the newspapers are anything to go by. Some guy in a town near us called Lismore got done for illegally extracting or fortifying or some shitty charge of a prohibited substance, and he had a lab producing, artisanal cocaine, and because it's so free of any illicit activities, it had no murders associated with it or dodgy other drug stuff when prohibition is in. I'm sure he was selling his shit that was really pure compared to other people's shit that was $350 a gram, and it's cut 60% of it is just shit filler. He was making a lot of money, but it's that got shut down, so it's up to other people to pick up where he left off. And it's definitely happening. It's just going to be a slow burn until it's widely accepted. And just for the record, I hate cocaine. I think it's a shit drug. But if people are going to take it, they should get access to quality, locally made stuff, not shit that's been shipped all over the world.
Well, I mean, I think the reality is that, you guys know I'm sober. I've been sober for almost 7 years now or something. I don't even know how long now. Almost 7 years. And I'm not an advocate for people to use drugs, but I am an advocate for a proper regulated market that can operate and A, operate, B, be taxed, C, be regulated and monitored to make sure that the things that are supposed to be going on there can be going on, and there needs to be like a solid repercussions for what's going on. And currently right now, like, we know that drug use is a problem. The problematic drug use is an issue. And there are more issues with drug use that come along than just, somebody running across a border or this or that or the other thing. There's a ton of health repercussions that go on. And how are we supposed to fund dealing with the health repercussions, right? How is somebody going to get to go to treatment? We just throw tax money at it, and then in the meantime, we arrest people and then put them in a for-profit prison so that we can make money off the jail for it. It just, this whole thing is completely designed so that a couple of specific people can rake in a bunch of money and not everybody live in a society, and that's my issue is that
potentially do they
utilize the income from them to do something with it. And we've seen that with marijuana. The state I live in was one of the first states to legalize marijuana, and there's a lot of tax revenue generated around it. The market has created less violent interactions for sure, much less violence.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest, was if they funneled all of the funding that they pile into the war on drugs into, like you say, the regulation and control and monitoring and stuff. If all of that funding goes onto the more positive things that we need or want, but are we going to get better results? We probably will, but they've got to invest the time and the money in the first hand to find that out.
And there's basically the only country that's doing it is Portugal. Portugal's like basically the only country that was like, hey, we're
decriminalize everything.
We're not doing that anymore. We're going to do a different thing. And they've gotten, I'm not saying that Portugal is like the answer or anything like that, but they definitely have.
They've had good results.
You look at the studies and they have a definite positive result of what's been going on. So
that's not.
We plugged in Portugal Trans Party into YouTube a week ago and got to see the most fucking amazing decor fucking party. Everyone was having a great time. It was really high tech and it's beautiful to see that their culture's thriving. And I could definitely see them being a mecca of sorts for people that do partake in substances to have a good time and be in a safe environment, because instead of treating it like a crime, they're actually treating it like a health issue.
Yeah. Right.
No one's got any fear, to be honest.
They're I'm only going off a hazy memory, but Portugal is a country of like they're only a little bit bigger than Australia, aren't they? Like 50 or 60 million population or something.
Bigger population, but small location. Yeah.
Much small area.
In Portugal, yeah, I think it's like I don't think their population is all that big, but I mean, when you're talking about statistics, you have to take the statistics where you can get them from, actual studies being done versus like.
That's
what you hear in America all the time is like, well, we can't scale up to that, and it's like, why not? Like, because we can't scale up, like. When you talk about 400 million people doing the same thing that 4 million people are doing, the input is the same, right? Like proportionally, the input is the same, so the output should be the same, regardless of how big the project is or not. Like that. So of course you can upscale. Like that's how upscaling works. You collect 10% of money from the people, and then use that 10% to do something. Right? I constantly talk to people that we can't do that. Our country's too big. You're like, well, what's the plan? You want to make the country smaller or something in order to have this conversation? What do you mean? Like, because the country's been the same size for 70 years now, so it's not getting smaller. It's not shrinking. It's not really growing, because if we're growing, we're basically going to be taking over other countries, which is not a good idea, so I
guess kind of my point rings into what you just said, that Portugal being a country that's had success with it, but they are a lot of people condensed in a really small area, so you've got a lot of very similar human beings, and then you go and try and assimilate that kind of program, g'day Paddy Shaddy, into a much more immense population spread out over a massive area. You're going to have a lot more social dimorphism, if you like, if that's even a word. I might have made up a word, people. Can you really take an example like that as a given that it's going to work everywhere, because you're not necessarily dealing with a such a condensed population in a small area. You're going to have a lot more similar people in that 20 to 30 million Portuguese people, as opposed to 300 million across a massive space like the US. Oh, do you answer a private number? No.
No.
Not on Wednesday. God, don't these private numbers know they've got to call me on Thursday to get answered? Hello, Shelby Ray Lane. How are you?
Well, guys,
always nice.
It's hitting the 2-hour mark. My battery's nearly completely gone. I better go. I'll keep watching on the TV, but great to talk to you both. Always a pleasure.
Good luck down at the Innes, the Glen of the Innes.
Guys, have fun.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Will do.
If not before.
For sure, man. See you.
What?
See ya. Yeah, so I mean, like when you really boil down to like the conversation, it's basically like it's pretty easy to figure out a basic pragmatic stance of just going like, all right, what we're doing is not working because there's not a whole lot of evidence that it is working. And, you know, the United States has 2.2 million people in prison or something like that, which is absurd. It's a level of absurdism that is just...
And there's still people in jails for offences that have now changed, yeah?
Yeah.
Because it was naughty at the time. Even though it's acceptable now, we'll still keep you in there because it was naughty at the time. You knew what you were doing, lad.
Right. Yeah, and you know, it's you know, it's really like it's an unfortunate situation because I more often than not run into people that don't really want to have a genuine conversation in the US, that is.
Well, it's certainly one of those conversations where there's like even a single human could engage themselves with so many pros and so many cons,
right,
in only a few minutes of thinking about the subject. And it's like, oh, you know, this could go the right way or it could go the wrong way. And unfortunately, a lot of things like that get put in place, they don't get put in place for enough time for it to work itself out, sort of thing. You know, a knee-jerk reaction. If it goes really well, then the government will react and go, oh, we better be really careful because we need to make sure we get as much tax as possible. Right. And then if it goes really poorly, then the government can react. Oh no, instant turnaround. But you've you know, massive changes like that. You have to allow time for it to assimilate, osmose with the way that society functions.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want to necessarily just go directly into a free for all. But
although that could have its merits too.
I guess it could. Yeah, I mean,
sort the goods from the chaff.
I think. Well, I guess in a way. I mean, that's kind of a depressing thought to have. You know. You know, in a realistic way, that's a pretty rough. That's a pretty rough go for anybody, you know.
Yeah, but you've got to present, you know, the viewers with all angles of a situation.
That's true. I mean, it doesn't help anybody to avoid parts of a conversation, you know, just because it's uncomfortable, really, you know.
Yeah, I can't wear a halo all the time.
I mean, you could.
It gets really hot. Really hot around the really bright spots near my scalp.
Oh, is that why your hair is looking
mark?
Is that why your hair was looking all wild earlier?
Yeah, the halo was set to spin dry.
It makes sense. It makes too much sense, really, when you get down to it.
Yeah, you got when you order your halo, make sure you get the one with all the optional extras.
I will.
I got the one with the coin slot as well. So if people want to borrow your halo, they've got to put a $1 coin in before they get any of the functions to work.
Oh, but it's like the $1 coin though, because it can't It can't be.
Yeah, those
those
cache slots, they take up way too much hardware space.
Yeah, it's just too much. You need a scanner in there and everything. It's a bit.
But yeah, highly recommend Coin Slot Halo. Look it up. It's on Amazon.
On Amazon Prime.
Argentina, probably.
Yeah. It's not.
I think they've
got. What is it? Is it Amazon.au down there?
.com.au.
.com.au. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crafty. Those crafty buggers.
Anyway, I have paid no attention to the chat. What have we got?
Yeah, I suppose we should, huh?
Zip Gun Eyewitness was in the room with Nixon. He started the war on drugs to go after blacks and hippies. I think there was like a few other things as well, wasn't there? There was education and stuff that he fiddled with and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely did some of that. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of the reality of what he was doing was a method to it was the method to really mess with those that were like against him or whatever, because they were trying to figure out a way to basically mess with the detractors, the people that were like politically standing up against basically the U.S. government, and that stuff got traction.
Was Nixon considered conservative? Very conservative?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to compare to now exactly what he was about, but yeah, I mean he was a traditionalist, wacko, traditional like liberal with a capital L, Republican guy, and
can I just say?
I've gotten so many conversations with people that
before you go any further, can I just say, traditionalist wacko?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good name for a band.
That is a good name for a band. That should be our new project.
Someone write that down on it. What was it again? Traditionalist
wacko.
I like it. I'm already getting melody ideas.
But the thing is like it's very difficult to wrangle like an identity of politicians in the past, because you do have to kind of analyze and sort of know what their motivations were, like what they were about, like what it was that they were trying to do, what they were trying to implement, and who they were directly opposed to realistically.
Yeah, when I posed that question, I was sort of referring to at the time, right. Even for the time, he was considered a very, very conservative individual. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he was not a good guy, and for people to like admire him or whatever, it's like that's bad news, like in a real way, and there are people that are down with old Nixon's policies and stuff now, and a lot of what he was up to was a lot of what was motivating him was like strong levels of racism, maintaining a specific status for like, and there's no real better way to put it, but like for white people, and
we call them whitey round here.
Yeah. But like that's what the motivation was. I mean, that's what they were, that's what they were doing. So it really is, and people go like, oh, well, you just want to erase history. And it's like, no, I mean, you need to embrace and understand history and how decisions were being made in the past, and who is making them, and what their motivations were, in order to not fall directly face first into a trap of bad ideas, just for the sake of
appreciate that the shit was happening for a reason.
Yeah.
Understand why.
Yeah. And have knowledge of like what was motivating these people, like what was their motivation, to try and do whatever it was that they were trying to do at the time. And
was Nixon one of the first American presidents who dealt with environmental issues?
He started the EPA. Yeah. So he wasn't necessarily like dealing with environmental issues, because a lot of presidents before that had done, because like Teddy Roosevelt set up the Teddy Roosevelt that set up? Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt set up our national forests here are huge. Like we have tons of nationally owned land that you can't develop, you can't do anything with it, but you can go camp there, you can go hunt there. I mean, we're talking millions and millions and millions and millions of acres, you
got a fair bit of real estate over there to play with.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But like, Teddy Roosevelt was probably the first like environmentalist type president, realistically. Like he was a hunter, and like he was kind of like he was kind of a wild cowboy-ish sort of dude, but he was also like a rich kid too. So it was like there was no real kind of limit to what he was doing, but that stuff was important to him. And so he was probably like the first environmentalist. But Nixon did start the EPA, but it's definitely debatable as to like why he started the EPA.
What his motivations were.
Yeah, what was the motivation behind that? And a lot of it had to do with extracting money. He was extracting money in order to more or less like do bad things with it, and I mean, and Patty in the chat says that Nixon had some good in him, and it's like, well, I mean, like every bad leader in the past has had some good in them,
Yeah, they're still a little bit human.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some kind of humanity there. It's like, well, he took care of his dog. You're like, is that it? Like
he always finished his wife's roast lamb and said, "That was lovely, dear. Thank you."
Right. You're like, oh, okay, well, yeah.
We've had some fun stuff going on in Australian politics in the last 2 weeks as well.
Right. Yeah, I follow. What's his name? Geordie's. What's his name? Hold on. Geordie's.
So, are you familiar with the subject that I was going to raise? If I'm not,
Friendly Geordie's. Are you familiar with Friendly Geordie's YouTube channel?
I am not.
Oh my God! You've got to follow him. Like he's like an awesome Australian YouTuber who does like all this like wild political stuff. Like it's fantastic. I really like his channel because he's intelligent. He's a comedian, and he's sort of opposed to the status quo BS. And he does a really good job, honestly, as far as my opinion goes. So, take that for whatever it's worth. Take that with a grain of salt. But,
he's a good-looking boy too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a good-looking chap. He's only like he's like only like 30 or something, maybe right around there. So he's got that fervor. He's still heavily excitable.
Yeah, I wish I was that pretty at 30. He's a
what
very.
What did Zip Gun say? Nixon, brilliant diplomat, EPA, Clean Water Act, big racist, and a criminal. Very mixed bag. Yeah. I mean, he did do the Clean Water Act and the EPA stuff, but a lot of that, you have to remember like how polluted the United States was. And people nowadays don't have an appreciable like perception of how bad pollution was in the United States. And I've gone into this on my live streams, and I know people think it's like a monumental snooze fest, but like the rivers were so polluted that like they would back up with garbage and catch on fire. Like I'm telling you, like river fires were a thing, you know?
So clearly he saw an aspect that needed a little bit of cleaning up, and he also
in the 70s there were constant protests about the air. The air was so dirty that people would protest about it. So like I would have to find this study, but there's like a statistical study of the weather patterns in LA in the 70s, right? So LA is supposed to have like 320 days of sun a year. Like it's basically supposed to be sunny there all the time. And that number was flipped on its head because of the smog was so bad, it would be considered overcast. Like seriously, the smog was so bad, it was artificially cloudy out. Not to mention all the lead burned in the air, all the gasoline cars, like everything had lead in it. It was all in the air, and people were going crazy because they were breathing in lead all the time.
Yeah, that's good for you people.
You know, and like when I talk to people about this stuff, they're like, yeah, well, you know, whatever, it's not a big deal. Because we live now in a world where we're relatively, you know, separated from that kind of stuff. And, you know, like people aren't affected by it like directly at this point. And, you know, the unfortunate thing is that like most people, now I know this is kind of like a rude thing to say or whatever, but like most people need to be exposed to something for them to realistically care about it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like brain cancer. If you tell people like brain cancer is a big problem, you got to consider it. You got to do this, you got to do that to try and make sure you don't get brain cancer. People are like, yeah, all right, man, whatever. I don't have brain cancer. It's not a big deal. But then when your uncle gets brain cancer, all of a sudden it becomes something,
the most important thing
that is of real importance, because it's like it's directly affected people, and that sucks. That to me is just incredibly it's incredibly difficult to like wrap your mind around. Like you have to actually be affected by something in order to
give a fuck,
to like give a shit. Yeah, I mean, it's like, how can we help more people just have empathy without having to expose them to bad things happening? You know, is something that I think about a lot. Is like, how can you look
empathy without endurance?
Yeah, it's like, how do you look outside your own bubble and go like, and actually have like an appreciation for it? And I've always thought like the avenue to do that was the arts, personally, but I don't know. I really don't know that if people like actively watch like a specific film or something, whether or not they really like walk away with like having learned anything from it.
Yeah, well, like you say, the challenge is getting people to get outside of their bubble, and basically with our our social media and our internetial existence nowadays, we're building our own bubbles and we're strengthening our own bubbles. And it is very, 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 very difficult to get people to step outside of that bubble for mere moments at a time before they feel they, need to get back in and immersed in their social media existence.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a sort of a forced state that we're in, but it's also kind of like on purpose too. It's kind of
it's an opportunity for individuals to empower themselves to, break the shackles and get out there and learn all this stuff that we all should be learning instead of sheltering ourselves from good information stuffs, I think.
Well, I think it's definitely important. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's important to try and figure out, how to like get something across to people in a way. Because obviously, the typical art thing is like you want to evoke an emotion, right? Because that emotion has something to do that can hopefully like reach across and touch somebody in a way that that they'll be able to take things into consideration that they maybe didn't before. And I often see a lot of people evoking things like Ben Shapiro would be a great example of like, facts don't care about your feelings, but then all that guy does is talk about his opinions, right? Like just the things that he thinks are good or bad or whatever because he read a Bible or whatever, the Torah. And then he talks to like oil billionaires who pay him a ton of money to keep making these online shows, or like Prager University like is a great example of an oil funded fake university that's on YouTube that's like basically trying to convince people of to just like follow whatever their weird opinion is about a thing, and it's like, well, if you take like the slightest bit to research what it is that they're talking about, it's like, hey, wait a minute, all of this stuff is just an opinion, like they're literally just on the grift, like telling people that their opinion is a fact, because like, oh, this is what I think, and it's like, well, that's not a fact, but you could present what you think as a fact, by just like falsely saying some statistic, like 48% of people think that homeless people should starve to death, and it's like, well, what? But moving on. Now, the next point I'm about to make is really quickly written down in the script, so I'm going to read it off real fast so you don't think about that thing I just said, but you heard it.
And how many people did you interview to get 48%?
Right.
9.
Well, that's the whole thing, is like, a perfect example would be like how much I hear about like the cancel culture, right? And it's like, what are you talking about when you talk about cancel culture? It's like, cancel culture is trying to get you, they're trying to get you with the cancel culture. It's like, dude, you can't just say whatever you want that is awful about other people without there being some kind of repercussion, right? And
I've got a really good test for cancel culture.
What?
Keep going. No, finish your thought.
But the talking point is that like cancel culture is going to get everybody, and it's like, get everybody who? Like, what do you mean they're going to get you? Like, you're going to lose your job at Disney because you are crazy on social media? Like, yeah, that's kind of how that works, dude. Like, that works at any job for any person. But it's just like, yeah, but I'm a celebrity. I'm a pseudo celebrity. So if I lose my job, it's way more important than the guy who works at the plumbing company, and it's like, well, the plumbing company guy can't be a huge racist either, because what
get spoke about.
Yeah, like what? First of all, you just can't, like, just no, like, just don't do that. But second of all, like, you can't just work at a job and then go out there and just act like a crazy person and then expect to like be able to just keep your job, like
talking about Jews and cancel culture seems like a really good segue to talk about. Did you see Gina Carano's interview with Ben Shapiro?
Oh yeah, they're gonna make a movie. And Ben Shapiro just made a movie about school shootings, but it is like exactly what you would expect from that Psycho. Is that it's like it promotes school shootings basically, because like it is just the most awful piece of crap movie that like creates a hero culture around a school student that like somehow, like because she knows how to use a gun, she stopped the school shooting, but she doesn't stop the school shooting or anything. Like it's all just like chaotic nonsense about Second Amendment rights, and you're like, what?
And that came out of Shapiro's interview with Gina Carano.
No, he just released a movie. Like he produced a movie.
I was going to say, I don't remember that bit of the interview.
And well, he said that he and Gina Carano are going to make a movie where she's the hero. And I don't know what's she going to do. Like she's going to like beat up college professors or something. I don't know what the hell what's the deal, but I don't know what that movie is going to be, but that's what they're like. We're going to save Gina Carano from cancel culture we're going to make a movie with her in it, and you're like, okay.
I didn't get the.
You could have made a movie with Gina Carano before, anyhow, right? Like
before
all of a sudden, but now all of a sudden, because it suits your weirdo talking points, you're going to make this movie. Okay. That seems like just total normal business-like behavior of like a normal person. Like sounds legit.
Yeah, no, I was only referring to that interview because I thought it was I thought she had some fairly decent points when it came to standing up against the cancel culture and stuff, but I didn't know that they were thinking about making a movie like that. But also speaking of Jews and cancel culture, should I try my my cancel culture joke?
I don't know, I guess.
I mean, it might get us both cancelled if you're on the screen at the same time. What's Hitler's favorite setting on his air conditioner?
I don't know.
The dehumidifier.
That's pretty bad. I think you've been canceled.
I'm waiting for the sirens.
The swarms are going to fly in. I don't know. It's just not good. It's just not a good joke. I guess I would have laughed if it was a good joke, but it's just not good.
I spent hours writing that joke.
You did? Yeah.
It came to me in a rhyme like that.
It was a wasted hours.
No, I have this thing where there's certain words in songs
right
that I like to replace with other words, and generally the word "you" in songs I like to replace with "Jew."
Yeah,
I'm really trying
to
typically
go for juice, like OJ,
Juice got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I normally go for the juice because it's pretty funny.
It's less offensive.
Like Orenthal James, that guy.
Orenthal. How many kids have been named Orenthal since the 90s?
Not many.
Internet poll, go.
Can't be a very popular name anymore, I don't think. But Olivia's middle name starts with a J, so I think I'm gonna be calling her the Juice.
I thought you were going to say you'd call her Janthal, just the second part of his name.
No.
Juice. Yeah.
There will be a point where I'm going to have to call her the Juice, but I think it'll be far enough removed that, or maybe not. Maybe it'll just be timeless. Like everybody will know who that guy is forever, probably. I guess.
But it's acceptable because clearly her initials are OJ, are they not?
They are. Yeah.
So yeah, she's going to be blessed with the nickname Juice between the ages of 2 and 13. And then she's going to one day Google up famous OJs.
Famous OJs. and then be extremely mad at her father.
Yeah, I was going to say, and you might want to be wearing a motorcycle helmet that day.
I might want to be prepared, yes. Yeah. Lest history repeat itself in a different manner.
Yeah. You could have worse initials.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be fine. She's clearly a different OJ. I think that's pretty clear.
She's the pulp-free variety.
Yeah. Although I will have to say, like, she's been going to this. She had to go to a new daycare. Our daycare people moved to Colorado, and
probably because the mushroom.
It's kind of funny because, like, this. Maybe I'll get canceled over this. I don't know. But so we went to the daycare. We like toured the daycare, and this was
the new one.
It was like a month ago that we toured the daycare, right? And so we were there, and the kids, all the other kids were there, and of course we were masked up, social distance, all that, and but the other kids were like off there playing off in the way, and I have to admit, like, and I mentioned this to Vicky a couple times, but it's like the other kids that are there don't seem very bright. And Vicky was like, "Gosh, don't say that." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know."
Obviously, if she said that, she recognized that as well, didn't she?
Yeah,
she picked up on it.
She must have.
Yeah.
So the last 2 days that she's gone there, all of the ladies that work there, right when we went to pick her up yesterday, they came up and to bring her out and stuff. And one of the teachers kind of leans over. She goes, "She's so smart." Like, oh, okay. And so I was like, "Oh my God, that's so funny." Okay, well, yeah, I'm proud dad. Okay, but then Vicky picked her up today, and two of the ladies that brought her out were like, "She's so smart. What's going on?" I'm like, well, that's 2 days in a row, so we'll see tomorrow. Hopefully we get a three-peat of her being smart, but hopefully she does something dumb tomorrow and kind of lowers the expectations a little bit, because they seem to be getting high at this point.
I'm totally following this story thread. I want to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Hello. And GRB, keep those song titles coming. GRB's come through with a "Jew, light up my life."
Juice lights up my senses.
All right, I also change love in songs to drug. I find generally works most of the time.
Hey man, I love you, bud, but I gotta go. I desperately gotta go to bed. I gotta get up at 3:30, and it's 10 o'clock now. So
do you remember all those hours ago when I said tonight's show will just be a short one?
Mm-hmm.
And here we are 2.5 hours later.
Yeah, you fibbed. You're a fibber. You lied to me.
I am chock full of the lies.
It's okay. We had a good time.
We did. It was good chat. Good chat. And we didn't even talk Star Wars. Nothing to talk about.
Nothing to talk about yet, but it's coming. It's coming, folks.
You get ready. Brace yourselves.
We might have to go back and watch The Mandalorian Season 2 again.
Well, to be fair, I have been dabbling amongst all of the other nonsense that I've been watching, because goodness me, I've been watching a fair bit of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have started Clone Wars again.
Right.
So, if you feel invested enough to do like 47 hours of viewing of the Clone Wars to catch up to. I think I'm at season 4, maybe season 5.
Oh Lord, you know that's difficult.
Talk, but
that's difficult to catch up and make that time.
That's a lot of watching, but I stand by my original statements. So going way back when, that Clone Wars is the quintessential Star Wars viewing.
Mm-hmm.
It is the must. The must.
The must-have. It's understandable.
It is very. All right, get out then. Go.
All right, I gotta go. Bye-bye.
I'll see you soon. Thank you. I always take too many seconds to say those last words. G'day, Steve Baratick. Not sure if you're a ick or an itch. Sounds like she already is, Steve. Or she's got to paint the walls with her own poop or something to lower her rating. Time will tell. Time will tell. How are you, Paddy Shaddy? Good to see you. Itch, righto. Steve Barrett Itch. Good to know. I might forget that by next week if you're back again next week, but I'll try not to. No promises. Let me try a thing, see if it works, because I want to know what it is. Righto. Now I know. The video was entitled Ballsy Prawn. And yeah, there was a prawn hanging out underneath. I think it was 3 Australian bass and a jade perch. Normally making an easy meal out of an Australian long arm prawn, freshwater prawn. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, well, I've been a little bit concerned that I know my production values aren't very impressive, but when I start the show with a song doing the StreamYard screen share, the audio never seems to come through very well, even though they have a share audio function. Those that know StreamYard know what I'm talking about. Seems that StreamYard may do some absolutely grotty stuff with the audio. So when I do those screen shares at the start and I just play music, it sounds shit compared to what I'm actually hearing or what I heard when I produced the music. So I didn't want to do that today because I didn't want to keep presenting songs that I really enjoy to people. But then I find out that I'm, showing people really substandard mixes of the song. So I'll have to look into that and work it out somewhat better than that. Because that's disappointing. I was just under the impression that people were hearing my music exactly as I was playing it, but that wasn't the case. And yeah, that means I've got to convert a whole bunch of videos to a certain format because StreamYard will only take a certain format in those little share video bits. But we'll try and make it happen. We'll get it happening by next time. But in case, if no one's got any other questions or anything, Yeah, I'm not paying for StreamYard Aquamate because it's $25 a month or some nonsense. I just got to get off my ass and learn OBS stuff. I've got the links. I've got some stuff downloaded. I've just got to put the time in and actually do it. I'm very, very lazy. I'm sure you know. Very hard to commit, but yes. Got to do the stuff. Learn the trickier things instead of just doing it the easy way. Using a Bluetooth speaker as my soundboard into the microphone. Production values. Anyway, lucky I didn't respond to that straight away, Mary Page. Sometimes I read letters and they mean different things in my mind. Fishymon, did I even say hello to you? Sorry if I missed you. If I did say hi before, have a bloody second one, mate. Dishing them out. Strange noises over there. Investigate scene. Oh, good-o. Aquamate's got another premiere coming up in, I believe it's about 28 minutes now, 5:30 local time. What's this one on, Aquamate? Hang on. I'll see if I can get the Aquamate. Wait a minute. I'll send Aquamate a link. He might want to pop up on the stream and tell people what's going on with his premiere coming up shortly. That'll also kill a little bit more time. Instead of scrolling, just type letters, Michael. So many Joshes in my contacts. It's ridiculous. Oh, here we go. He's put it in the text anyway. Alvin Kong's Fish Rooms. Amazing Scapes and Wabi Kusa. Wabi Kusa, isn't that? And you like wrap tuna and avocado in Wabi Kusa? Isn't that a sushi type or something? Ah, damn it. Buttons. Too many buttons. Wabi Kusa. Wabi Kusa. Sounds like something edible to me. Potentially will need Aquamate to explain. Because, you know, people could be going to his premiere expecting delicious food to be presented, only to find some particular arrangement of plants within an aquarium. Oh, GHB, yeah, once stepped in Wabi Kusa. It's interesting how different words trigger different feels in people's minds. But yeah, now that you say that, GRB, Wabi Kusa does also sound like a texture one might feel under one's foot whilst walking barefoot through the dog park. Oh, he's drinking, so he must be ready.
Hello.
Ah, there he is. There was like zero sound. Were you professionally muted?
Yes.
Until deemed appropriate.
Professionally and internally.
And internally. Oh, the double.
How are you, Vic?
I don't remember what adjective I was going to put with double. Yeah, I'm pretty well. Pretty well, thank you. G'day, Cichlids Aquarium Keeper. Cack has made it. Probably Does that mean that the others? Oh no, the other stream's still going.
What's the other one? Or do we not mention? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't mind. People go there. What's his channel? All Things Fish.
That's right. I haven't really seen any of that stuff.
Hey, he's all right. He's a good dude, and I've said my piece about scheduling, and I've found my piece with scheduling because I was handed some sound advice the other day from a well-respected YouTuber saying,
I don't have to say that.
Just don't give a fuck about schedules or anything like that. Just go when you want, and you know, if I'm going to live by that, then I can't frown upon others who want to live by those standards as well.
No, that's fair enough.
Tell us about your premiere. Oh, hang on. Did you ask me a question before we go on to that? No, you didn't.
No, I asked how you were.
Yeah, you asked how I was, and I answered that, didn't I?
I was enjoying your chat. I was working and listening to you guys ramble. I love it when Joel gets on a roll. He just keeps going, and I'm like, he's got some really good points, and he's a very different way of thinking sometimes, so it's enjoyable.
Yeah, that's why I pay his appearance fee.
Yes. What is that? The bug. Yeah. So last week I went to Alvin Kong. He's an Instagrammer. He did one video with me before on the Macerium. So he makes these cool little Maceriums and terrariums and paludariums. And he entered a Wabikusa into the Aquatic Gardeners Association competition, which is worldwide. And his Wabikusa, it's basically in a Scotch glass, and it's come in the top 10 in the world. So we went and had a look at it. But also while we were there, his maintenance on his tanks is like, you know, OCD, every day cleaning the tank, every day fertilizing. I think he only does water changes weekly, but you look at his tanks and they're just crystal clear. And the first two tanks you see in the tour, they're low tech, but you would think that they've got CO2 and expensive lights on them, but they're not. He just looks after them really well. So it's a bit of a long one. It goes for like 25 minutes, but it's a tour of each individual tank and paludariums and all the Wabikusa. I think you think of wasabi, aren't you?
No, I was just trying to be a dickhead.
But no, it's a bit of fun, and some of the tanks look absolutely the same sort of stuff you would see on George Farmer MD Fish tanks. Like he's doing that sort of stuff, just in nano tanks, so not a big tank.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it would have been impressive to watch someone with OCD go through their routines if you did some of that as well.
Yeah, actually, that would be interesting.
I've certainly been there before myself, where you can't walk past a tank without putting your hand in and doing a little bit of fiddling with something. I mean, these days I don't have that many Fs to give, but I've certainly been there before, where it's like every time you walk past, you know, you take 3 different angles of a tank, and I'm just going to move this one here, and then 45 minutes later you've moved 9 things around and cleaned everything.
Well, I also he sort of inspired me a fair bit when I was there. Like, I did the video and I was like, I've got 6 videos I've already done, and I'm like, all right, I need to put these into action, and I'll do this one later. But I just kept finding myself going back and editing his video, and I'm like, nah, I can't wait that long. I'm gonna do it this week. So, and then I listened to George Farmer podcast. Smashed that out in like 2 days of just driving around listening to that. It sort of inspired me to go, all right, what am I doing with my little scapes and stuff? And I moved all the lights around. I went and bought one of the lights that he had. They had like the last Flexi Mini at Studio H2O, and I think they've been discontinued, but like it was the last one available. So I'm like, I've got to grab it. And now I've got neons in like the Iwagumi over here, and I've actually just shoved more plants in the back, so it's not really an Iwagumi so much anymore. because I'm trying to learn how adding so many plants and that sort of stuff that keeps all the algae down. It actually makes your tanks a lot less vulnerable to,
everything.
getting unbalanced and algae and all those other things. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should just have lush greenery at the back, and then that'll help kill off the algae. And now I'm loving this tank even more. So it's good. It's inspired me. Hopefully it'll inspire other people to go, oh, I'm going to go play with my tank.
Nice. That's very good. What else? What else has been going on?
What else? Working. It's getting colder down here, so nobody wants air conditioning anymore. So we're in that weird lull of it's not cold enough for heating, but it's not hot enough for cooling.
Yeah, right. You don't start pushing the it's going to get cold soon. You want some reverse cycle aircon in your joint.
Well, it's been like 16, 17 degrees the last 2 days. So it's not, I've turned the heater on twice. So usually that's your indicator that people are going, oh, it is a bit cold. And then you do a lot of quotes for thousands of dollars and people go, ugh. And then you'd never hear from them until June. And they go, you came out 3 months ago. I saved up and I want to get it now. Didn't like me.
In other words, this tiny little 20-centimeter fan heater that I bought isn't cutting the mustard.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll spend the $3,000, thanks.
And GRB, the footy season is upon us. Tomorrow is the first practice match. And then in 2 weeks, round 1 starts.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is weird because you think we were pretty much robbed of sport last year because, well, not all year, but it looked so different. To think it might, I think we'd be getting ahead of ourselves if we say it's going to look completely normal again. But it'd be good to have another distraction from our everyday lives. Oh yeah, and heading up to Cairns in a few weeks too.
Oh, so nice one.
Be fun. Get away.
That's like your annual pilgrimage, isn't it?
Every couple of years, just because they own that little apartment up there. It's cheap. It's like you only have to really spend maybe $600 on airfares or something like that, $600-700. But then
food and all the essentials.
Food.
But you skipped that last year, didn't you, with all the COVID hoo-ha?
Yeah, we were meant to go last year, but something weird happened. And hopefully it doesn't happen again before we go up.
Oh, well, it won't be COVID again. It will just be something under a different name.
Well, we had a 5-day lockdown the other week, 2 weeks ago, whatever, because of COVID. They're found it in the wastewater around here.
Yeah.
I'm waving things around. I'm not even on camera. Like literally Yarra Glen and all the areas around here. And and they're like, if you've got a cold, you got to go get tested. And like, what? Who's drinking the wastewater? I don't know. How's this work? If it's literally there and we're getting no cases, then what does it matter?
That kind of if the disease is being found in the wastewater, then that kind of lends some validity to what we were talking about before with the I don't know if you were around when we were talking about the Japan and China doing the anal swabs at the airport of international travelers to detect certain varieties. Apparently certain varieties of the COVID are more likely to be found if you stick a cotton bud up your dot.
So it's not just like a customary welcome; it's actually looking for COVID.
Yeah, no. The old customary welcome was just the index finger, but now it's being done with a Q-tip. People are up in arms. They're a roar about it,
so that no one gets COVID on their finger.
But yeah, if it's being found in wastewater and sewage and stuff, then potentially, maybe the up-to-date test is not so comical. Shouldn't be frowned upon.
No, that's true.
Yes, it probably still should.
Oh yeah, joining Alex from the Secret History Living Inside Your Aquarium on Saturday morning, I think our time.
For an acclimate experience.
Nah, not on my channel. On his channel.
Right.
I haven't been invited on other people's channels except for yours for a very long time. Maybe I should stop. Well, I got a haircut. I was going to say maybe I should get a haircut and shave, but I did.
Make sure you remember me in your YouTube Immortals speech.
Will do.
When you're inducted into the YouTube Immortals Hall of Fame. It's going to be a thing. I know it. I'm sure it is.
Oh, yeah. It won't be far away. Go here. What's this? Uh-oh.
Oh, fishy mine. I like the way you're thinking. Cricket, yeah. Even with the COVID stuff, our football and our cricket seasons are still overlapping somewhat. Still got a little bit of cricket going on as the football's warming up.
Yeah, well, are we playing New Zealand today? I was going to ask you. Is that today?
What is today? Wednesday? I thought the next game was tomorrow, but I could be wrong because, you know, once we put in our dismal performances in the first two games, I kind of lost interest. I thought it'd be more challenging for us. For them, it's certainly challenging for the Australians, but I thought it'd be a more balanced series than Australian just getting trounced by the Kiwis.
And see, I saw the start of they've only played one game, haven't they?
Two T20s have been played.
I think I saw the start of the first one, and New Zealand weren't traveling that great, and I was like, oh, this will be easy. And then went out there, I'm like, wow, we suck.
Yeah, well, the second one, New Zealand batted first, and they just batted amazingly. Martin Guptill and Kane Richardson batted splendidly. It was great.
I do love watching New Zealand play. I love it when they're strong. That's always like, yes. Like, I feel like sort of like they're our brother. Like, yeah, cool. I like it when you guys do well.
Yeah.
If we don't win, we want you to win.
And they were wearing like a semi-traditional uniform as well for the games.
Yeah, it was like a cream.
The two different shades of brown in the uniform. It's great.
It's weird.
Steve, thanks for hanging out, dude. We'll see you next week, if not.
See you, Steve. Australia batting one. Yeah, so we are playing now, are we?
Ah, nice one, GRB. We'll just keep streaming for the entirety of the game and let GRB do the updates. Oh, who's out, GRB? Finch, probably. Finch will be out.
Yeah. That's what they were saying today on the radio. He needs a pass mark of 50. It is. There we go.
Yeah, I really enjoy listening to the cricket on the radio, but you can't get these T20 games on the radio.
Who's Philippe? Who's Philippe?
He's a young West Australian kiddie, I think, who did really well in the
12.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
And yeah, Finch is still in 5 off 6.
So who's out?
He's just hit it straight up in the air.
See you, Finch. Good night.
No, he hit a 6, actually.
It's 50-50 with Finch. They're either going for 6 or he's out.
They're not allowed crowds there, is that right?
I believe so, yeah. I think I think the first one had a crowd and then some shit went down over there, so they banned crowds, I think.
That's right. They're all in lockdown for 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Someone lied about who they were with. Fair enough. I better jump over to the that premiere because that'd be rude of me to set it up and ask people
not turn up.
Cheers, BJ. It's a lot dirtier in person, isn't it? It's a lot smaller and dirtier in person, the garage.
Oh, yeah, actually, there's certainly the smaller part of it. Always on camera, it feels like a massive open space, but when you're in there, you feel like you'd you'd barely fit Herbie the love bug in there.
No, yeah, we're not allowed to park cars in here. We can get my wife's car in, but we can't get mine in.
Yours would be too tall, wouldn't it?
I think it's too long.
Ah, a bit of both.
Thanks. All right. Awesome to see you. I like jumping up and joining you at the end of these because it's turning into a time where I'm like, cool, I can jump up and catch up.
We'll keep doing it then.
Awesome. I'll post. Well, are you going to finish or are you going to keep streaming?
No, I'm going to finish because I'm really busting and I don't want to go away for a wee and then come back just to say goodbye. So I might as well say goodbye and then go and fire hose my toilet.
I'll post. Oh Jesus! No, I'll just stuff that up pretty bad.
So yes, if everyone wasn't exactly paying 100% attention, Aquamate has a premiere video popping up in 9 minutes, 8.5 minutes.
Just chuck the link in. Oh, so did GRB.
GRB, nice one. You can never have enough links. So please, everyone, take the next 8 minutes to go and do a wee, make a cup of tea, or, run around your front yard with your underpants on your head. We won't judge. We won't judge. And pop back for Aquamate's premiere.
You can say, hey. You can tell us if you don't like the tanks. If you do like the tanks, you can just talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, make up your mind. They're either coming to say hey or
whatever they want. We don't discriminate. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. No worries. We'll see you there.
See you, man.
A quick poo. Exactly, BJ. Squeeze one out. And if you hear Aquamate's theme song, then pinch it off. I think that's what they say, isn't it? Pinch it off when you're in a hurry. I can't risk that kind of behaviour with the stuff that I've got going on down there. Anyway, thanks heaps, everyone. I'm going to duck away now. Fishymon is apparently rapping in the chat now. Oh, whoops, wrong one. That one. Take a wee, make some tea. It's so free. I feel we need another line. Maybe another line. Oh, Paddy coming through with the life advice. Don't pinch the loaf. It makes the yeast rise. Indeed. Oh, Chevy Fish saying goodbye must have woke you up, Chevy. Thanks for reawakening to say goodnight. I hope you had some sleep, at least. And everyone else, GRB, thanks for the links again, mate. Always a good, solid effort on your behalf. I believe it was Terry's Tropical Tanks, wasn't it? To look out in the post, Terry, for your bucket of kudos. The first person in the chat always gets a bucket of kudos in the post. Thanks for showing up, Shelby Ray. It was good to see you again. It's been a long time. And, hope you're well and all that. Brothers, bloody Broderick with your timing. Timing, mate, it's shit. I'm just saying goodbye, brothers. Craig Broderick, after Aquamate's premiere in 5 minutes, Craig Broderick will go live. Everyone check out his channel. Go and sub up so you get notification of when Craig Broderick is going live. Paddy, you can, as soon as you come in the door, you can start with the potty humour if you like. Bloody Jay's Bedroom coming right in with the timing as well. And yeah, look after yourselves. You know the drill. Don't be stupid. Don't be a dickhead. And, if you get the opportunity to save someone's life, have a go at it. It's good fun. See yous. Oh, and